Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku had a bloody bond part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story, 𝗵𝗃𝗲, fan 1 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. The day had started off normal enough for 13-year-old Izuku Midoriya. He got up, ate his breakfast, got ready for school, went to school, got blasted/bullied by Bakugo, and began his walk home with blood dripping from his newest wound. Suddenly, as he passed by an alley, he noticed a girl his age curled up into a ball and whimpering. She had blonde hair pulled up into 2 buns on her head, and she wore a stained yellow school outfit with her knees pulled up to her chest and her arms crossed over her face. "Hey, are you okay?" Izuku asked, kneeling down in front of the girl. "Go away, I don't want to hurt you." The girl sobbed before looking up at him, her yellow cat-like eyes training on his before fixating on his blood that covered the right side of his face, running from his temple down to his jaw, causing the poor blood-dependent girl to gulp loudly. "I can't just leave you like this. What's wrong? Maybe I can help you," Izuku said as another drop slowly made its way down his face in a tantalizingly slow way. "My quirk makes me need to consume blood or I go crazy and violent until I get some. My parents threw me out, saying I was a monster, but I don't want to hurt people. It's not fair." The young lady sobbed, burying her face in her arms again, waiting for his inevitable rejection. "If you need blood, I suppose you can have some of mine," Izuku said sheepishly, rubbing the back off his head. He wanted to help the girl, and if it just meant that he'd lose a little blood, that was a small price to pay. Really? You don't think I'm a monster?" the girl asked hopefully, lifting her head and revealing her fangs. "Of course not. And do you have fangs? Is that part of your quirk to let you draw blood easier?" Izuku asked rapidly, his status of a quirk nerd revealing itself. Yeah, it's pretty useful to get blood, but you're the first person to offer me blood without me having to take it forcefully," the girl said, looking down in shame. She had never meant to hurt anyone, but she couldn't help it when she got too blood starved. "Well, I'm Izuku Midoriya, and I want to help you," Izuku said with a bright smile. "Himiko Toga. Thank you so much," the now identified Toga said, tears coming to her eyes at the kindness of this random stranger. Izuku simply responded by loosening his tie and unbuttoning his dress shirt, tilting his head to expose his neck. "Take as much as you need, but I'd prefer if you didn't take so much that I pass out," he said, blushing slightly. Toga looked at the boy with hearts in her yellow eyes. She had deduced that she loved the boy right then and there and wanted to stay with him forever. She began with a long, slow lick up the side of his face and catching his sweet blood on her tongue. Toga then wrapped her arms around his shoulders and latched onto the side of his neck. Izuku let out a grunt of surprise as he felt the girl's fangs sinking into his neck as she greedily lapped up the warm liquid that she needed so desperately before he reached up and petted her head, eliciting a and a purr from the girl. Toga pulled off him enough to whisper in his ear, blood still trickling out of his neck. "See, can you tell me I'm a good girl as I drink, please?" Toga asked, her face hot as she made her request. "Sure," Izuku stuttered, blushing as she began drinking his blood once again. He reached back and petted her head again. "Such a good girl. Keep drinking, good girl." Toga simply hummed in contention as she continued to lap up the sweet liquid, loving how he stroked her hair and assured her that she was a good girl, that she had his permission to do this. After a bit, Toga gave his neck one last lick before letting go and pulling a red scarf to wrap around his neck and bandage it before she wrapped her arms around his waist in a hug. I don't want to lose you," Toga said, blushing as she buried her face in his chest. She suddenly had a feeling of a cold hand gripping her heart when she thought of him going home and leaving her here in the alley. "Didn't you say your parents threw you out? Where have you been staying?" Izuku asked, his warm body sharply contrasting her cold one, attempting to bring her body temperature up to its level. "I have been staying in this alley. It's kind of scary at night, but it's relatively safe," she said, enjoying the seemingly endless warmth that his body provided. I wish I could never stop holding him like this, she thought. Well, that's not going to work. You can come home with me, I'm sure my mom won't mind, Izuku said, knowing that between his mother's job that she took to stay busy and the checks they get from his father in the mail, they had more than enough to house the poor girl. Toga, for her part, seemed to get very excited about this. So I can be like a pet that you adopted off the street. That sounds awesome, she said, practically bouncing in excitement. Izuku blushed really hard, even if he had just given up a good amount of BLD to the girl. Well, I didn't mean like a pet, I was thinking more like a roommate or something, but I'd have 𝗳𝗧𝗵𝗲 my mom, Izuku explained. Toga visibly deflated at that. So, I can't be your cute little pet who greets you at the door when you come home from school, she asked, disappointed. You want to? Izuku asked incredulously. He could honestly say that the idea did send his puberty-addled mind down a few dark paths, many of which involving her with a collar around her neck and a leash in his hand. Of course, I can be your cute little pet that you rescued after finding me on the street, and you can feed me your yummy BLD when I'm a good girl, Toga exclaimed. Izuku seemed to mull it over in his head for a bit before his mind eventually landed on 𝗵𝗃, and he turned to Toga with a smile on his face. You want to be a good girl for me? I've got something I want you to do. Line break. Inko Midoriya was sitting on her couch, enjoying her day off from her part-time job as she watched some soap opera that she wasn't really paying attention to, just something to doze off to. She had taken the part-time job as a way to keep busy, but also because she felt bad just sitting around the house while Izuku went to school, and she was hoping that working would give the 𝗃𝗃 a little extra spending money. It wasn't like she hated her job, she actually loved it, but sometimes it was good to just sit on the couch and nap. She had been thinking about taking her son to a hero convention that was in town when he got home, but she knew that ever since her mistake, heroes had been a touchy subject between them. At this point, she just wanted to make her son happy, but it was hard to tell what would help. He was too selfless to ask for things for the most part. She made a vow that the next thing her son asked her, she would do whatever she could to get for him. Suddenly, a loud "I am here" from her phone let her know that her son had sent her a text, so she reached for her phone and opened the image her son sent her, only to do a double take at what she saw. It was a blonde girl about Izuku's age, sitting on her knees with her hands hanging in front of her chest like a dog begging for a treat, her tongue lolled out and her eyes crossed as she smiled up at camera. Inko looked down to the text that accompanied the image. Green bean, can I keep her? Inko's hand immediately started typing out a long paragraph asking who she is and why she's acting that way towards him before she stopped herself. She remembered her vow, that the next time he directly asked for something, she wouldn't deny him. Besides, he probably just got a girlfriend and was letting her know about it. Mama Midoriya, sure. Bring her home so I can meet her. Line break. Toga was figuratively walking on air on the way back to Izuku's home, excited about the new life change that meant she'd get affection and a place to stay with the boy who saved her from killing someone eventually. Izuku, meanwhile, was trying to keep up with what was going on. He had agreed to letting the formerly homeless girl be his pet, mostly because she wanted to for some reason. Mostly. He was desperately trying not to think of anything lewd to do with his new pet, but her comments weren't exactly helping. Wow, you're going to have to give me a bath when we get home, I'm a dirty little BLD pet, she said, smirking adorably, and leaving Izuku with the image of him bathing her in the tub at home while she just looked at him in that unfairly adorable way. She's just saying that she needs me to set her up with a bath, he thought, trying to get his mind out of the gutter with sheer willpower alone. You'll also have to pick up some things for me, like a collar that marks me as yours, and a leash to take me on walks with. What do you want me to call you? Shouldn't I call you 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏? Am I supposed to be your puppy or your kitten? Probably puppy, because cats don't like to play, and it's 𝐎𝑪⁴ to train cats. She rambled to the young man, making him wonder if that's how everyone else felt when he rambled before the significance of her words hit him. T-train. He sputtered, his face bright red and his mind going to very lewd places. Yeah. I want to be a good girl for my 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, and I can't if 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 doesn't give me a little reward if I am a good girl for him, and I will need to be punished if I'm a naughty girl. Don't you want to help me be a good girl for you? Toga said, purposely putting an emphasis on certain words, teasing the boy that she had become the pet of. I suppose so, Izuku said, focusing on not fainting as he approached their apartment. I made it, he thought as he put the key in the lock and went to turn it. You're not one of those pet owners that makes the pet wear clothes in the house, are you? Toga asked with a massive smirk on her face, causing the boy to pass out and hit the ground with a loud thud. Linebreak Inko was staring at the image from her son, trying to decipher what it meant, when she heard the door being unlocked by her son, followed by a loud thud right outside. Rushing to the door and throwing it open, Inko was met with a sight she wouldn't forget. Her son laid flat on the ground, face crimson red, and a smirk on his face. There was also the fact that the blonde girl from earlier was straddling him with her hands on his chest and playfully licking his face like a puppy would. Noticing her audience, Toga turned and smiled at Inko. Hi. You must be 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗄's mother. I'm his new little puppy, Himiko Toga. It's nice to meet you, but him here seems to have fainted, she said cheerfully before helping a stunned Inko get her son inside the apartment. By the time Izuku returned to consciousness, Toga had helped his mother put him on the couch and explained what had happened, as well as explaining her feelings for Izuku that led her to wish to be owned by him. Inko had been pretty accepting, realizing the girl probably just didn't understand or want a standard romantic relationship with her son. She did make some rules for both the new resident and her son, such as Toga having to wear at least pajamas around the house and that if they were going to do anything SXL, they should at least be safe and use protection. She also said that Toga couldn't take more BLD than Izuku could produce, bumming the girl out, but she at least understood why. Toga demanded that she be allowed to sleep in Izuku's bed with him, and that he'd feed her BLD as a reward when she was a good girl, as she put it. She had also refused to call Izuku anything except for 𝗵𝗃. When Izuku woke up in his new pet, and mother explained all of these things to him, he almost fainted again, but fought through it and listened to all they had to say. When they had finished, Toga turned to Inko and gave her the best puppy dog eyes she could manage. Can you go get me a collar and a leash? I want to be marked by 𝗵𝗃 and I want him to be able to take me for walks. Toga begged Inko, sitting down at Izuku's feet and leaning back on his legs. I'd rather he not take you for walks in public, but I will get you a collar and leash and he can walk you around the apartment. What do you want the collar to say? Inko asked. 𝗵𝗃𝗲's little blood slut. Izuku muttered, causing both Inko and Toga to turn and look at him, Inko looking shocked and Toga smiling brightly. Did I say that out loud? Izuku stuttered, his face bright red. Yeah, you did. That sounds like a great thing to be on my collar. Do you want me to be your little pet blood slut? Do you want me to be desperately begging for 𝗵𝗃𝗲's BLD? Do you want me to beg right now? Toga asked, sitting down on his lap facing him. I'm not going to the pet store and having them engrave that on a collar, honey. Maybe just your name, Himiko. Inko suggested, not wanting to actually say that to the poor people at the pet store. Fine, I'll just have to call myself 𝗵𝗃𝗲's pet blood slut a lot to make up for it. Toga pouted before snuggling her face into Izuku's chest. I think I'm gonna nap with 𝗵𝗃𝗲 while you go to the store. Unless, does 𝗵𝗃𝗲 want to play with me? Toga asked, licking her lips. Play. Izuku stuttered, his mind going to lewd places and his little Izuku started to harden in response to his pet's teasing. Yeah, doesn't playtime with your little blood slut sound fun? Toga said, wiggling on his lap and causing more BLD to flow south of his head. Take it to the bedroom at least, I'm going to go get your collar and leash, Himiko. Is there anything else I can get you? Any foods you like? Inko asked. As desperate as she was to get out and let her son have private time with his new pet, she didn't want to waste the trip. No, I can get all the nutrients I need from 𝗵𝗃𝗲's BLD, but you should get orange juice for 𝗵𝗃𝗲 so he regenerates BLD faster. Toga said, her face buried in Izuku's neck as she inhaled his scent deeply. Inko rushed out the door, slightly out of the fear that if she didn't they'd start doing things in front of her, and began to make her way to the mall, only to be stopped by a man in a trench coat in an alley who flashed a knife at her and told her to keep quiet. Linebreak Himiko continued to tease and grind against Izuku, and the boy was looking for an excuse to get out and gather his thoughts. Wait, I forgot to ask Mom about a new All Might figurine that I forgot about. I'll be right back. Ikoku said, running out the apartment and towards the mall, hoping to catch her. Izuku was on his way to the mall on the route his mom would have taken when he heard a struggle in the alley next to a low-ranking hero agency. He turned and what he saw made his blood freeze in his veins. The alley was occupied by a common thug whose quirk seemed to be the creation of knives, and his mother, who was being threatened by the thug and pressed against the wall. Izuku moved before he could think, his legs surging toward the criminal and throwing him into the air for a tackle. The criminal, shocked by the new arrival, shoved the boy off him and summoned a knife to slash at the boy. Izuku dodged, then countered with a right hook at the villain, which would have done wonders. If he wasn't a 127-pound boy with little to no muscle mass. The villain simply tanked the hit and stabbed his knife into the boy's shoulder before summoning a new one. Izuku staggered as the knife was buried into his slight muscle, but by this point the adrenaline flooding his brain prevented him from feeling either winded or pain as he dragged his ruined shoulder into place for a continued melee. "Wow kid, you're pretty tough, huh?" the villain said, preparing to throw his new knife into the young man's leg. The boy fixed a glare on him that was so filled with fury and unyielding determination that it caused the man to hesitate. The boy was looking pretty confident, and as of now he had no idea what his quirk was, so what if he was outmatched? Shaking these traitorous thoughts aside, the villain hurled the knife into the boy's thigh this time, nicking the artery and causing blood to pour out of the wound, even with the knife stopping most of it. "You just don't know when to quit, do you, kid? What's it to you if I hurt this lady? Actually, now that I'm looking at it, you're related to her, aren't ya? Is she your mommy? Do you really think you can save her? Just give up, kid," the villain said before tossing 2 more knives at the boy, planting them in his other shoulder and his other leg, rendering all his limbs useless. "And now, because you've pissed me off, you get to watch as I kill your mom, nice and slow," the villain monologued, not noticing the CCTV camera in the alley capturing the whole thing. Line break all for one. Watched the boy throw himself on the line to protect his family, not caring about what happened to himself, and it struck a chord with the legendary villain. It reminded him of himself, desperately trying to get his brother to stop hating him to no avail. He couldn't get his brother to care about him, and he inadvertently made that blasted quirk that brought him as low as he was now, but what was the harm in giving this boy a little edge? He slowed time, a quirk that he used very sparingly due to the immense mental strain, and traveled to the boy, giving him a strong regeneration quirk that he couldn't find a use for due to its incompatibility to the type strength quirks that go into 𝗏𝗏𝗧. This should be fun to watch, the villain thought as he hooked himself back into his life support machines and allowed time to flow again. Line break. Izuku felt unbelievable amounts of power flow through his body, the lactate acid that wore on his muscles seeming to disappear as his body pushed the knives out of his chest, closing the wounds behind them. The mugger froze in fear as the boy with undying intensity stood, his eyes still glowing with his rage and fury focused on him. "We aren't done yet, BSTRD. You have 3 seconds to get the hell away from my mother," the boy growled, his previously ruined body now feeling as if he just got out of bed in the morning after a good night's sleep. 1. The villain threw another knife into the boy's chest, only for it to be pulled out and tossed aside, the wound closing again as Izuku took a single step forward, now 10 steps away. 2. The villain was now desperately hurling knives, none of which hitting their mark as he abandoned skill in favor of quantity of throws, backing up as he cowered before the kid who seemed completely unaffected by his quirk. He never had fought, only intimidating the weak rather than bothering with the strong, and now as his back pressed against the back wall of the alley. 3. Inko said suddenly, causing the 2 fighters to turn and see the woman's eyes glowing as every knife that was thrown rose into the air and pointed at the would-be mugger. "Go get a hero from next door, honey. I've got him," Inko said to her son, her glare burning at the man who threw knives at her son, trying to resist the urge to send the knives at him. Izuku ran next door and came back with a random hero who quickly secured the mugger, thanking the duo and telling them they could be on their way. Inko went to protest that her son needed medical attention, only to look at him and see cuts in his blood-stained clothes, but none on the boy's skin. It wasn't unheard of for people who were diagnosed as quirkless to develop a quirk in times of stress, the toe joint not being a definite indicator, but it was rare. That's some regeneration you've got there, kid. The pro hero said as he escorted the mugger to his holding facility in his agency. But I'm quirkless. Izuku stuttered, looking down at his undamaged torso. Line break. The two went back home, their shopping trip abandoned in light of what had happened, and Toga did her part, snuggling into Izuku to try to alleviate any mental trauma from getting stabbed, even though she was angry when she saw his BLD on his clothes. MSDR's BLD is mine. How dare they try to take it? She fumed adorably in Izuku's lap, arms crossed as they watched TV, and Izuku petted her head gently, still processing that he had developed a quirk. It seemed to be a powerful regeneration quirk, healing the ruined muscle and flesh that was mangled by the knives almost instantly, as well as seeming to regenerate his BLD that he had sheathed throughout the day. Hey Hime, wanna be a good girl and help me test this? Izuku asked, hugging his pet from behind. Sure. And since I'm a good girl, I deserve a reward, don't I? Himiko said, turning around in his lap and facing him. Well, you're going to help me test if my regeneration replenishes BLD, so I'm going to have you drink until either I faint or you're full. Consider this your reward for posing for that picture before. Izuku explained, discarding his shirt to avoid getting BLD on it if Himiko missed some. Okay, is there a catch or something? Himiko asked, her mouth salivating at the thought of a large amount of her MSDR's sweet B. Nope, just try to drain me dry. Izuku said, lying back on the couch. But Tensu, your mom said to keep that stuff in the bedroom. Himiko teased as she leaned down to her MSDR's neck. Izuku chose not to respond, rather blushing as his pet once again teased him before he felt her fangs sink into the side of his neck. They sat there for a while, with Izuku barely feeling a difference in energy as his adorable pet fed off him hungrily. Himiko was delighted that she could get so much more BLD from her MR now, feeling a huge amount of intimacy as she sat on his lap with her mouth latched onto his neck. After about 15 minutes, during which Inko went to bed, Izuku felt the fangs leave his neck, the holes closing as they left, and looked at his pet sitting on his lap, only to do a double take. Sitting on his lap was a carbon copy of him, right down to the freckles. Thanks for the treat. His doppelganger said cheerfully while looking down at him, disturbing him greatly. Hime, please don't take that form while you sit on my lap. I don't like dudes on my lap. Izuku said, looking up at his identical twin. But I like looking like them. Himiko pouted before seeming to light up with an idea. She scrunched her nose, which looked weird to Izuku seeing it on his own face, and began to change. Her hair grew longer, bust got much bigger, and she became 𝐒𝐫𝐲 in general. Within seconds, Izuku Midoriya was looking at a female version of himself. Since when can you do that? Izuku asked, poking her cheek as if checking to see if she was really there. Well, all I'm really doing is partially changing back, and I can't do it unless I get a lot of BLD. Do you like it? Himiko asked shyly. She tended to be pretty shy when it came to her quirk, mostly due to the ridicule she got for having a villain quirk, but she knew her MSTR wouldn't treat her that way. In response to her question, Izuku proceeded to ramble at a blistering speed, but was cut off when his pet licked his nose. Sorry, was I rambling? Izuku asked sheepishly, looking at the female version of himself sitting on his lap. Yeah, but it's okay. I'm going to run to the bathroom and take this disguise off, then take a bath, okay? Himiko said, getting off his lap and posing cutely with her hands behind her back. Why yeah, let me know if you need anything. Izuku said, turning back to the TV for a couple minutes. Hey sir. Himiko called from the bathroom doorway. Izuku turned and saw his pet back in her original form, leaning on the doorframe, with not a scrap of clothing on her. Thought you deserve a treat too. Himiko said, going back into the bathroom and leaving an extremely flustered and aroused Izuku sitting on the couch. Izuku laid in his bed, his all-might merch not as numerous as it could be, and probably would be in a couple of years, but he still had a lot. Toga was still in the bathroom, so Izuku got some more pillows for her and a lighter blanket to make up for the inevitable increase in body heat produced. Eventually, his bedroom door opened and revealed his pet, only for him to feel overcome with endorphins upon seeing her. Himiko stood nervously at the entrance to the room wearing nothing but one of his shirts and panties, blushing shyly as she attempted to pull the shirt down to cover herself, even if he had already seen her naked and the shirt was far too short. "Sir, I'm your cute little pet, right?" Himiko asked self-consciously, not meeting his eyes. Upon hearing this, Izuku got out of bed and pulled her into a hug briefly before letting go and pulling her gaze up to meet his own by her chin and rubbing her head. "You are the cutest little thing I have ever seen and you don't have any reason to be self-conscious. Just remember, you are my cute little good girl. Now go curl up in bed and we can cuddle until morning," Izuku told her, going into the bathroom and washing up before bed and heading back, got back in bed, and wrapped his arms around her from behind before freezing. "Hime, are you wearing a shirt?" Izuku asked, freezing as he moved his hand on her stomach, confirming that she wasn't. "Nope. Guess you'll have to hold me nice and close to keep me warm." "Oh darn," Himiko said, pushing back into Izuku, rubbing against him. Izuku immediately felt blood rush from his head to more interesting places, something that Himiko definitely noticed. "Is this for me, sir? Can I touch it, please?" Himiko asked, once again grinding her butt against his now hardened pages. "Why you want to?" Izuku asked, shifting uncomfortably. He was once again struggling to control himself from telling her he wants her butt in the air and her face in the bed as he her mercilessly, smacking her cute butt and watching it shake and turn red. Yeah, he was into some stuff. "Yes, sir. Please let your cute little blood slut pleasure you before you give me a nice big treat. Please," Himiko said, rubbing her thighs together to stave off her own arousal, ultimately causing Izuku to hit the F-it button again. "Out of bed on your knees," Izuku growled, sending shivers down his pet's spine as she rushed to comply. She was worried for a second that Izuku wouldn't be willing to dominate her, but it seemed that wouldn't be the case, much to the BLD-dependent girl's delight. Izuku soon followed her out of bed, discarding his pajamas, leaving him in his boxers. Himiko sat on her knees, wearing nothing but panties as she blushed, looking up at her adorably. Izuku walked over to his pet, his hard, clothed pee-pee straining hard against his right breathe leg where he had placed it. "Take them off," Izuku commanded, something that she rushed to do, yanking his boxers down and getting slapped on the cheek by her 𝗲𝗏's pee-pee and leaving a smear of pre-cum there. Himiko kissed the head of the pee-pee, smearing more pre-cum on her lips as she looked at the large pee-pee, practically salivating. It was approximately 9 inches long, and an inch in diameter, pre-cum oozing from the tip as his heavy ball dangled underneath. "Can I please put MSDR's big pee-pee in my mouth? I promise to be a super good girl if you F my silly little throat and give me a nice treat. I want to know if MSDR's cum is as yummy as your BLD," Himiko requested, pouting up at her and opening her mouth invitingly, and then gasping in pleasant surprise as she felt him grasp her hair and thrusting down her throat. "Thank you, 𝗲𝗵𝗲. Himiko tried to talk around his pee-pee, sending pleasing vibrations through his large manhood. "That's my good little blood slut. You want your MSTR to shoot cum down your throat. Such a salty little pet for me," Izuku said as he her throat fast enough to make a vacuum when he pulled out, causing her to make sounds of suction. After pulling out to give Himiko a chance to breathe, also because he was close and wanted this to last a bit longer, Izuku rested his saliva-covered pee-pee on her face as she blushed and panted cutely up at him before picking up his pee-pee and stroking it to maintain her progress. "Please come on my face and in my mouth. I want to have my belly filled with MSDR's BLD and come as you stuff your silly little pet full. Please," she said, pulling out all the stops to be as cute a canvas for him to paint as possible. Izuku began to jerk off rapidly, letting out a grunt as his cum splashed on her face and into her mouth, a rope covering her closed left eye in a lewd parody of a wink and filling her mouth up as she kept it open for him to show it to him. Himiko quickly snatched up Izuku's phone, taking a selfie with a peace sign as she sat in just her panties and covered in cum before swallowing what was in her mouth and scooping what was on her face into her mouth to similarly drink down. "Thank you so much, sir. Your cum tastes almost as good as your yummy BLD. I can have some every night, right?" Himiko asked hopefully, getting to her feet and tugging Izuku to the bed and lying down, grabbing his arms and wrapping them around her. "Sure, cutie. It can be another reward when you are good for me," Izuku said, pulling her close and letting her turn and snuggle into his chest. "Thank you. I love you, 𝗧𝗬. Himiko said, already drifting off to sleep. "I love you too, pet. Good night," Izuku murmured as he peacefully went to sleep with his precious pet in his arms, the only clothing between them he panties. Line break. By the time they woke up, the pair had slept in due to it being Saturday and found a gift box wrapped up on the foot of his bed. Curiously, Izuku sat up, mistakenly bringing his pet who was resting on his chest with him and waking her up with him. Himiko watched with interest as her emperor opened the box, only to blush at the contents. He pulled out a cute black collar with a metal ring for the leash and a tag that read, "Himiko," on one side and had his name and phone number on the other side, a green leash that was approximately 4 feet long, a cell phone in a yellow case, and a box of condoms along with a note from Inko, who had gone to work. "Have fun, sweetheart. Also, I'm not quite ready to be a grandma, so use the condoms, okay?" Izuku read aloud, causing Himiko to rush over and scoop up the collar to admire it. "I love it, 𝗧𝗧. Will you put my new collar on me and take me for a walk? We can go to the park and I can do tricks for you," Himiko suggested, holding the collar out to her. "I don't know if that's the best plan, Himi, but you can have some BLD for being such a good girl last night." Izuku chuckled as he put the collar on his pet, tugging on the back of it and choking her, eliciting an from the girl. "Oh, are you my cute little masochistic blood slut? Do you want 𝗵𝗃𝗲 to spank your cute little butt before you eat?" Izuku teased the blushing girl. "Maybe," Himiko said shyly, her face as red as the substance that sustains her. She was still shy about some things, but was also not shy about others, so it was always a pleasant surprise when she blushed adorably and got shy. He got the leash and hooked it to her collar, guiding her to the living room. "You're so cute. Let's just watch TV and cuddle for a bit. Be a good girl and tell me when you get hungry," Izuku commanded, sitting on the couch with the remote and patting the spot next to him. Himiko laid down next to him, resting her head on his thigh and looking up at her. "Can you rub my head? I like it when you pet me," Himiko said, sighing contently when he complied and rested his warm hand on her head and pet her hair, not really caring what they watched as long as she got his constant attention. He turned on TV and flicked over to YouTube, muttering something about DM and ads before going out and going back into the video to get an ad he could skip. The video he chose was an old pre-Quirk video discussing the advantages of having different weapons with a healing factor. https://youtube.com//𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗄𝐻 Toga couldn't understand the English-speaking man, but Izuku had learned English so he could watch 𝗏𝗏𝗏's interviews in the USA. What truly caught his attention was the comment the man said about how someone with a healing factor could essentially spend a day in a gym and put on several pounds of muscle, growing new muscle to patch tears in about a second, when it would take a normal person a day or two to do the same. Izuku decided that it would be a good idea to get a gym membership at some point. Himiko lied there contently as Izuku switched to some random TV show before grasping her hair and giving it a gentle tug, causing her to look up at him. "You've been such a good girl, sitting there and waiting patiently for me to get done watching that video. You didn't even say a word the whole time, did you? I think you deserve a little reward, don't you?" Izuku said, his hand tracing circles around her collar. "Why yes please, 𝗧𝗬. See, can I have some Himiko asked, already licking her lips at the thought of her favorite treat. In response, Izuku simply pulled her onto his lap and let her latch on, petting her head and telling her she's a good girl. When she was done, the wound once again closed as soon as her fangs left his neck, not even leaving a blemish. "I've got to go out and get something, pet. Do you need anything while I'm out?" Izuku asked, taking her off his lap and going off to search for a shirt to wear. "Can I go with you? We can hide my leash under a hoodie and then I won't get left here all alone," Himiko suggested excitedly, wanting to go for a walk with her 𝗧𝗏. Izuku went to deny her, not wanting to go against his mother, but knew he never had a chance when he saw the hopeful look in his pet's yellow eyes, already holding out her leash to him. "All right, but only because you are too cute to deny." Be a good girl while we're out and we might do this again. Izuku said, helping her into a hoodie and pulling the leash out his hoodie sleeve so he could hold it and make it look like they were just holding hands. Line break, they went to the mall. Himiko excitedly tugging Izuku around to the different shops before Izuku stiffened after hearing a familiar voice. Hey Deku. What the F are you doing here, especially with a girl? Is she pity F you or something? Bakugo called out, his two cronies chuckling at his words. I don't like him, Himiko said, looking the bully up and down before turning to Izuku. Hey. Oh, she must be some kind of animal freak, like that frog girl we roughed up earlier. Maybe we should give the quirkless loser's girlfriend the same treatment. One of the thugs chuckled at their fiendish leader. The responses to one Himiko Toga being called a freak, as well as the implications made in the words spewed by the boy who boasted a double-digit IQ, had various results. For instance, the other thug and Bakugo chuckled maliciously. Himiko's eyes teared up as she tried to shrink into Izuku's hoodie, his scent slightly comforting her. Izuku's reaction, however, put an end to the previously discussed reactions, albeit for different reasons. Izuku practically flew at the boy, his fists slamming into him over and over with enough intensity and savagery to stun the bullies and make Himiko blush. The wet smack of a duo of fists pounding into the face of a boy who was unconscious after the first sounded among the group before Bakugo hit the boy who was beating his friend into the tiles of the mall floor with a powerful explosion, destroying his shirt and charring his skin. Izuku slowly turned his head, his quirk already making short work of the burns that covered him, and locked onto Bakugo with eyes filled with hatred. For the first time in years, Izuku stood up to him, and Bakugo didn't like the dread that filled him. You next. Izuku growled, those two words making his childhood bully flinch and the other thug turn tail and run. You DMN Deku. Since when do you have a quirk? Bakugo shouted, almost pissing himself through his 1-inch PP as Izuku stood and turned to him. Hey Bakugo. How about I give you some money so you can go to the SEC shop upstairs, buy a DLD, and go F yourself? Izuku said, his green eyes losing none of their fire. Why you? Bakugo screamed, lunging at the boy before being promptly grabbed by the face and getting slammed into the ground. What? Scared to get jealous at the extra small ones? Then why don't you take a nap so I can finish my walk with my pet? Izuku suggested before delivering a devastating kick to his temple, knocking him unconscious and concussing him. Poor Himiko realized that she would need to change her panties when they got home, her face on fire as she watched her effer dispatch the pricks who said those things about her. Mister, we need to go home now. Himiko squeaked, a heat pooling in her stomach. But because of some assholes. I haven't gotten what I came for yet, pet. Izuku said with a confused frown. Losing all of her self-control, Toga grabbed his hand and dragged him to the bathroom, slamming the door shut and locking it. I need you to help me. Please. Toga begged, practically humping his leg at this point. Izuku had caught on by now and wasted no time putting his hand down the front of her pants, feeling the absolutely soaked outer lips and pushing 2 fingers inside, rubbing her CLT with his thumb and using the other hand to grab her throat and push her against the bathroom wall. Poor Himiko didn't stand a chance, coming undone almost immediately and soaking the entire front of her jeans. Master, she screamed, leaking all over his hand, lick it clean. Izuku commanded, pulling his hand out of her jeans and holding it in front of her face. Himiko meekly began licking her juices off her MSDR's hand. Thank you for helping me, sir, but now my pants are soaked. Himiko said, looking down shyly. Noticing this, Izuku sighed at his lack of foresight to have her take her pants off, and made for the door. Be a good girl and stay here and keep the door locked until I get back. I'll be back with a change of clothes for you. Izuku said, leaving the bathroom. I have the best MSTR ever. Himiko thought, basking in the afterglow of her orgasm, sitting on the floor with shaky legs as Izuku shopped for her clothes and picked up a gym membership. Toga opened the bathroom door and let her emissary inside, who promptly locked it behind him. He was wearing a new black button-up shirt that he had bought to replace the one that Bakugo had destroyed, and he handed her a bag. In the bag was a pair of jeans and a pair of yellow panties that had "Property of Izuku Midoriya" printed across the back in green, something he had clearly gotten at the aforementioned SEC shop. Well, I like the jeans, but I really like the panties that 𝗵𝗃𝗲 got for me. Can you help your good girl put them on? Himiko asked with puppy dog eyes. Izuku helped her into her new clothes and kissed her forehead before placing her soiled clothes in the shopping bag and leading her back, her leash in his hand and going up the sleeve of the hoodie again. With nothing else to do, they went and got lunch for Izuku, Himiko just saying that she wanted more of his BLD when he asked. After he ordered a bowl of katsudon and was going to pay, he was interrupted by a tap on his shoulder. Can I buy your lunch? Karo. A green-haired girl asked him, her long tongue hanging out of her mouth. I'm sorry, do I know you? Not to be rude, but why are you trying to buy my food from me? Izuku asked, frowning in confusion, his pet watching the girl with interest. No, Karo, but I saw you beat the SHT out of the guys who were hurting me earlier and I wanted to show my gratitude. The girl answered, her face impassive as she looked Izuku in his emerald eyes. Now that she'd mentioned it, Izuku noticed the red puffiness in her eyes that indicated that she had been crying, as well as some singeing on her hair, which seemed to be tied in a bow. While Izuku was noticing those things, the girl stepped past him and paid for his food, as well as adding some food for herself. The three teens made their way to a table to await their food, and the unnamed girl taking immediate notice of how the girl who sat on her green-eyed Avenger's lap had new jeans than what she was wearing earlier. I'm 𝗬𝗧𝗏 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I was going to introduce myself sooner, but your girlfriend dragged you off right after the fight. Karo. The now identified Tsu said pointedly, her gaze fixated on the blonde girl who was nuzzling the greenette's neck before she turned to Tsu. Oh, I'm not 𝗵𝗃𝗲's girlfriend, I'm his little BLD pet. Himiko said, turning her attention back to her 𝗵𝗃𝗲's neck. I think I'm going to need more explanation on that. Tsu said, pausing her conversation as the food was brought to their table. Well, her quirk makes her require BLD to function and not experience psychosis, and when I offered to help her, she wanted me to make her my pet. Izuku explained. Oh, sounds pretty nice. I definitely wouldn't mind being someone's pet froggy. The frog girl stated, her tone as blunt as if she was stating that the sky was blue. I sure like it. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 is so sweet and attentive, even if he is a little sadistic sometimes. Why a pet froggy though? Something with your quirk? Himiko asked, turning in Izuku's lap and leaning her back against his chest. The boy focused wholly on his favorite meal. Yeah. My quirk makes me more frog-like so I can jump high and I have a long tongue. Tsu explained, somewhat shy about her freakish quirk. That's neat. Mine lets me shapeshift into anyone, but I need to consume their BLD first and it lasts longer when I consume more. Himiko said before noticing that her 𝗵𝗃𝗲 had finished his food and turned to face Izuku. 𝗵𝗃𝗲, can I have some BLD please? I've been a good girl for you today, and I'm hungry. Himiko begged expertly. Izuku looked up at Tsu, searching for judgment but only finding interest, before shrugging and unbuttoning the top couple of buttons and pulled the collar off his neck, leaning his head away and baring his neck to his pet, which she immediately sinks her teeth into. Himiko let out into his neck as the warm fluid filled her mouth, shifting into her 𝗵𝗃𝗲's form to demonstrate her quirk. What did I say about dudes in my lap, pet? Izuku growled in her ear, sending shivers down her spine. Sorry 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏, I wanted to show off my quirk. Do you want me to be the girl version of you? Toga asked. Fine, but you're still way cuter as yourself, you know. Izuku said, sending the girl into a shy blush while he was wrapping his arms around her and holding her tightly as she shifted. Suddenly, Tsu's phone went off. Oh, I have to go. Guess I'll see you around Midoriya and Toga. She said before rushing off to whatever she had going on. Can we go home now, 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏? I want to get this disguise off and take a nap with you. Izuku's female couple said from his lap. Sure pet, let's head out. He said, picking her up off him and holding her leash discreetly. Line break. All Might was not having a great time. His time limit was about 15 minutes ago and he was still locked in battle with the two villains that threatened the amassed crowd. One villain seemed to have a speed quirk that let him attack All Might from behind every time he went for his compatriot, who had a powerful flame quirk that All Might could only take so much of. Hey All Might, guess you took your eyes off the prize. The flame-based one called out. He was standing dangerously close to a crowd of onlookers and his hands pointing at them, preparing to roast the citizens, who were paralyzed in fear. Suddenly, a boy with green hair sprung out of the crowd right as the man let loose his quirk, taking the focused gout of flame to his chest. Ah, the boy must have some quirk that makes him immune to fire. All Might mentally sighed in relief. Then he heard the boy's gasps and grunts of pain. The boy sacrificed himself to save these people. Meanwhile, I cannot even defeat the villains who killed him. I truly am pathetic. What kind of hero would I be if I let his sacrifice be for nothing? All Might thought, his rage and power output increasing with each word passing through his mind. The villains watched in awe as All Might grew stronger, and then practically pissed themselves when they saw his ever-present smile had been replaced by a monstrous scowl. He moved at a speed fast enough to look like he was practically teleporting around before he snatched up both villains by their necks and slammed them in the pavement hard enough to crack it, his blue eyes glowing in rage. Villains shall have fear. For I am here. He shouted, sending every wrongdoer in a 2-mile into a panic and causing them to shake in righteous fear. That boy had the heart of a hero. A shame that he met his end this way. All Might thought, a single tear 𝐒𝐻𝗍𝗔𝗓 down his face. That was so cool. All Might heard a voice shout next to him, causing him to jump in surprise. There he saw the green-haired boy standing there with the front of his black shirt destroyed, but aside from a little redness, his chest was unharmed. Ah, young man. That is some fire resistance you have there, but why did you scream? You gave me quite the fright. All Might questioned, once again smiling brilliantly. Thank you, All Might. You're wrong about my quirk, it's hyper-regeneration, but thank you anyway. Izuku said back to him, tears almost coming to the fanboy's eyes. So his quirk let him survive, but he still felt the pain of being burned alive. And he leapt to action anyway. Let's see, massive amounts of pain tolerance. The ability to recover from an injury. The heart of a hero. He would be the perfect successor. All Might screamed internally, remembering all the broken bones of his past with one for all. My boy, would you mind coming with me to a second location? I would like to hear more of your quirk. All Might said, his smile never fracturing. Ah, that sounds a bit creepy, and I'm with my girlfriend right now, All Might. Izuku said awkwardly, realizing that he wouldn't believe that was really All Might, but rather a creepy imposter, if he didn't just watch him fight. Now that I am thinking about it, that does indeed sound a bit creepy. Here is my mighty phone number. Give me a call when you're free. He said, handing the boy a business card before leaping away and landing on a rooftop, coughing up BLD and falling to his knees gasping, his true form revealing itself. I'm getting too old for this. Toshi muttered to himself as he gathered his bearings. Linebreak Izuku Midoriya was practically glowing on his trip back home with his pet. He had gotten All Might's number. All Might. He hadn't even thought about jumping in front of those flames, and as he burned he completely forgot about his quirk. He thought, looking down at the shirt he had just bought and owned for about an hour before it was decimated. It was nightfall as they arrived at the door of his house, and the door flew open before he could even get his keys out, and he was tackled to the ground by his mother. Iza baby. Are you okay? Does it hurt when I poke your chest? I was so worried. Answer me, damn it. Inko said as she examined her son who had just shook off enough heat to melt flesh like a candle. I'm fine. My quirk regenerated me fast enough that the flame didn't go much past the flesh. I barely had a singed organ. Izuku said, his attempts at reassurance only causing her to fuss over him more. I'm going to go wash my disguise off, will you come help? Himiko asked, loyally trying to bail out her answer. Sure, little pet. Let's go get you clean. Izuku said, breaking out of his mother's grip and taking Himiko to the bathroom and running water into the tub, partially to cover the sounds of their conversation. Was I a good girl, 𝗧𝗏? Did I do good getting you out of that? Himiko said, looking up at her 𝗧𝗏 with eyes full of devotion. Yes, such a good little blood pet, aren't you? Does my little pet want a reward for being such a good girl? Yes, 𝗲𝗼𝗲. Can you help me wash off first? Himiko said, her disguise turning into a gross gray sludge. Of course, my little blood slut. Izuku said before setting her in the tub, watching her 𝐻𝐸 down and then helping her clean her NDE body. You're such a cute little pet, aren't you? Do you want me to reward my good girl? You're going to have to tell 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 exactly what it is that you want. Izuku said as he finished washing the gray slime off her, revealing her full NDE form to him. Please 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. I've tried so hard to be good for you. Please give your little blood slut her reward. Himiko said, holding his right hand to her core and grinding on it. Now pet, is that how we ask for what we want? You need to be specific, Izuku said, flexing his hand against her and causing her to writhe in the water. Please 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Please make me see come. Make me come and give me a nice tasty treat. Himiko begged, almost in tears as her enjoyable pain was made more intense. Izuku stripped down naked, limiting the time his hand was not in contact with her nether regions as much as possible, and got in the tub with his pet, more specifically between her legs as she covered her embarrassed face with her hands. Move your hands, pet. I want to see your face. Izuku growled, his left hand ghosting over the skin of her melons as he teased her. Why yes 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Sorry 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Please just hurry. Himiko begged, lowering her hands and blushing adorably as she looked up at her. Good girl. Now be a good little blood slut. Relax and let 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 take care of you. Izuku said, his middle two fingers curling and burying into her moist entrance. Yes 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Thank you 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Himiko out, trying not to thrash around much and already approaching her end. Good girl. Just let go. You're such a good girl. Izuku murmured in her ear after pulling her up and holding her head to press his pulse to her lips. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Please. She asked, hoping he got the message. Go ahead pet, you've earned it. Izuku whispered in her ear as his skilled hands brought her closer and closer to 𝗎𝗏𝗏. Himiko sunk her fangs in her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏's neck, the warm fluids taste sending her over the edge violently. Master! She cried out, thrashing around violently as Izuku held her close so she could ride out her 𝗎𝗏𝗏. Atta girl. Let's get you cleaned up, Hime. Izuku said as he held her gently. What about you? Don't you want me to 𝐒𝐭𝐴 your big, yummy pages? Himiko said as her cleaned the two of them. Not tonight, pet. Let's just get some rest, we've had a long day. Izuku said, getting out and hearing her do the same as he got a towel and turned to dry his pet. She was standing there with her hands behind her back and her head slightly tilted to the side, pouting adorably as her angelic golden hair fell down around her face, framing her cute facial features. So damn cute. Izuku said, approaching her with the towel and beginning to dry her off. Thank you 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Do I have to wear pajamas to bed? Himiko asked, blushing as her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 dried her off, touching everywhere. No. From here on out we both sleep naked. Izuku commanded, finishing and giving her a kiss to her temple as he held her close to his chest, feeling slight muscles that she didn't remember last time he held her. Thank you 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Himiko sat as they made their way to his bed, collapsing into it and holding each other's naked forms close. I love you. I love you too, pet. I'm here. I am he. Hey. Please shut it off. Himiko cried out as the loud alarm clock woke her up. Sorry, pet. I needed to get up early for school. I'll see you afterwards, oi. Izuku said, pulling on a shirt and switching the offending device off. Wait. Himiko shouted, shooting up awake. What is it, adorable? I really have to go. This is the first day I'll be at my new school, Izuku said as he finished getting dressed. He was no longer going to Aldera, his mother deciding that the route was far too dangerous after he was attacked multiple times, and was now attending Mustafa Private Middle School for his last year before UA, to which All Might had promised him a recommendation. He hadn't yet made any friends at his new school, but he really didn't mind when his pet pounced on him as soon as she could. I'm gonna be really hungry by the time you get home. We also never had our playtime last night. Himiko said shyly, looking down. Izuku thought for a bit before seeming to come to a decision. All right, girl, here's what you're going to do for me. I'm going to keep getting ready, and you are going to get enough BLD to last you through the day, and if you hurry up, you can have all you want later, and I promise to have a little playtime with you after school. Izuku ordered, only to have her grab onto him, wasting no time to sink her fangs into his neck while he worked on buttoning his shirt. "Atta girl. Such a good little blood slut for your 𝗵𝗃, aren't you?" he said as she drank down as much BLD as possible while he was stroking her loose golden hair with his free hand and she squirmed in his lap at the dirty talk. She was done in roughly 10 minutes and looked up at him with pure love and admiration in her eyes. "Thank you so much, 𝗚𝗵𝗲. Did I do good enough to earn playtime with MSTR tonight?" she asked hopefully. "Yes, you did, my adorable little pet. I'll be sure to give you attention tonight," he said, setting her on the bed and patting her head while she squirmed in arousal and anticipation for that night. Izuku left the house and made his way to his new school, only to be ambushed as soon as he got there. "I'm Mina Ishido. What is your name, potential new friend?" a cute pink girl shouted at him as soon as he approached. The girl seemed to compose herself and smiled brightly at him. "Sorry about my outburst. I'm Mina Ishido, you can call me Mina. Are you new here?" The pink-skinned girl introduced herself, a bit calmer this time. "I am Izuku Midoriya and yeah, I'm new here. Do you always greet new students?" he asked, scratching the back of his head. "Only the hot ones," Mina said with a wink as she looked up and down Izuku's frame. In the week since he was at the mall, he went from a 127 PND weakling to 173 pounds of lean muscle, attested to by the stretch marks on his biceps and thighs. "Thanks. What do you like to d-dash?" Izuku was cut off by his phone saying he had an unread text. "Who are you texting?" Mina asked excitedly, immediately at his side as he opened the message. "MSDR's little blood slut vampire female sign. Will you send me the picture?" Pleading face, backhand index pointing right, backhand index pointing left. Izuku looked at the girl next to him, her proximity making his her-addled brain go down certain paths. "Do you mind?" Izuku deadpanned at the girl fixed at his side. "Not at all. Who's MSDR's little blood slut and what picture are they talking about?" Mina asked, excited at the idea of a new relationship to ship, even if she kind of thought the boy was hot. "Mr. Eggplant. What picture?" "MSDR's little blood slut vampire female sign. You know, the one of me I took with your phone with the peace sign and my treat. Please." Izuku blushed and pulled up the picture before hearing a slight gasp next to him. "SHT, forgot about Mina. Holy SHT, did you do that? How much are you packing, hot stuff?" Mina asked, her peculiar eyes wide. "I'd rather not say," Izuku said before sending it to his pet. "MSDR's little blood slut vampire female sign. Thank you, MSDR. Please let me know if there's any cuties at your new school, okay?" "Oh, do I count as cute, Midori?" Mina asked, concluding that it was indeed his girlfriend and he wasn't available. "No comment," Izuku said with a slight blush dusting his cheeks. "Sir Eggplant. What?" "MSDR's little blood slut vampire female sign. So you can get more pets to poly with. MSDR's little blood slut vampire female sign. Play. Oh, do you guys have a dog?" "Oh, SHT, I'm an idiot. She meant another girl, didn't she? You sly fox," Mina said before the bell rang, interrupting the conversation and signified the beginning of classes. School was a drag, and also way too easy, but he did have math class with Mina, so that was entertaining even with the teasing and flirting. He was about to begin his trek home when he heard someone running behind him. "Midori! Wait up!" Mina yelled as she sprinted her top speed at him. "Yeah, what's up, Mina?" Izuku asked with an eyebrow raised. "Did you understand the lesson gasp in math?" Mina asked, out of breath. "Yeah, what?" Izuku asked as Mina's breath returned to normal. "I was hoping that you could help me with the homework. I can't afford to fail any more assignments. Can I come over to your place?" Mina requested, crossing her fingers behind her back. Izuku weighed the pros and cons before ultimately deciding that it would be good to have a friend in his new school, but he had the unshakable feeling that he was forgetting something. "Sure, let's go," Izuku said. He almost immediately regretted it. "Hey Midori, do you think I'm cute enough to be a pet?" "I personally think I'm adorable, but I am a bit biased," Ishido asked, causing a blush to dust his cheeks. "No comment," Izuku said. "She's so cute it's hard to keep my composure." I wanna F her brains out and smack that pink but red. He thought before cursing his teenage energy. Sounds pretty hot, Midori. Mina said with a smirk, even if she was blushing a bit at what he muttered. Izuku just froze in embarrassment at the pink girl's words. Moving on, what is your quirk? Izuku inquired, desperate to change the subject. Huh, talking about me senseless 1 second and then asking about my quirk the second. You definitely know how to talk to girls. To answer your question, my quirk makes me look like I do and secrete acid. Mina explained as a mischievous idea crept into her mind. While Izuku was muttering up a storm at her quirk, she wrapped her arms around him and dripped a relatively high pH acid down on his neck before whipping it off with her tongue. It wasn't enough to damage him, but it would sting a bit. Not to mention the potential for OW. What the hell? Izuku was cut off by her attack. Izuku turned to Mina, who had unbuttoned the top buttons of her shirt and had her second knuckle of her right index finger between her teeth. Sorry. I guess I need to be punished for being such a naughty girl. Mina said while sticking her bottom lip out in a pout. Izuku simply grit his teeth and moved on as they had arrived at his apartment, only to be pounced on as soon as he opened the door by a very naked Himiko Toga. Sorry, you're home. She yelled excitedly as she started undoing his clothes. Hi, I'm Mina. Mina said awkwardly as the boy she had been flirting with was suddenly latched onto by his pet. Himiko shot her a smile before letting go of a now shirtless Izuku, something that gave Mina's face a healthy blush, and getting on her knees, looking up at Izuku. Hi, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Ready for playtime with your little blood slut? She asked, sticking her tongue out and tugging at his belt. Himi, we have an audience. Izuku grunted at his pet, who turned to Mina curiously. Is she a new pet? Himiko asked excitedly. I wish. I've been flirting with him all the way here. I'm just here because he said he would help me with math. Mina pouted. But 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. I thought we were gonna have playtime. You promised. Himiko whined and pouted, causing Izuku to groan as he remembered. Mina. I hate to ask you this, but will you sit tight here? Izuku asked with a blush. But she's cute. Himiko protested. What's your point, pet? Izuku said, becoming painfully hard at the implication. Can she play with us? She obviously likes you too, and I keep passing out before you finish. Himiko suggested. I just met her today, pet. I tend not to F girls the same day I meet them. Izuku growled. Then can she please at least watch? Himiko begged. Fine. Izuku growled, his reasoning leaving him. Sit. He growled at Mina, who was immediately wet and sitting on the floor, before dropping his pants and pinning his ND pet to the wall. Such a desperate little blood bitch, aren't you? Pouncing on me naked and trying to get me to F you as soon as I got home. You've been a corny slut all demon day, haven't you? Izuku said while teasing her with his fingers and putting on a condom. Why yes, F your corny little pet, please. Please, I promise I'll be your good girl, just F me stupid. Himiko sobbed in desperation. Izuku fulfilled her wish, plunging into her and making her come immediately as her legs gave out, only for her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 to catch her. Please 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, I can't dash, Himiko started before being cut off by Izuku. It's okay, girl, just let 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 take care of you. Izuku whispered, assuring her that everything was all right before rocking back and forth to gently move into her sensitive body. Okay, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Thank you. Himiko said as she held onto Izuku, her mind being to be overwhelmed by the pleasure she was feeling. Izuku continued to gently F her until he saw movement in the corner of his eye. Turning, he saw Mina rubbing her own core as her peculiar eyes watched them. Did I tell you that you could touch yourself? Izuku growled as he glared at the pink girl, who gulped and felt a shiver run down her spine when she saw his intense green eyes locked onto her. No, sir. Sorry, sir. Mina said as she took her hand away and placed it on the floor. Yeah, I'm definitely going to punish you later, got it? He said as he resumed F Himiko, who was barely conscious in his arms. I'll be looking forward to it, sir. Mina whimpered as she saw him pick up speed. Usually, she wasn't one for being meek, but she really didn't mind if she got Midori dominate her. Izuku continued to 𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗀 until he finished, then setting her gently on the table and pulling his still hard pee-pee out along with a condom, which he promptly fed the contents to his pet. "That's a good girl," Izuku murmured. Line break: this is not what Mina had in mind when she came over to study. 38. She answered the flashcard that was held up by a newly reawakened 𝗵𝗃𝗀. "Nope," 𝗵𝗃𝗀 said with a glint in her eyes as she set down the card. Smack, she was currently being bent over Izuku's knee with her pants around her ankles and being spanked with every wrong answer. "Remember, this is your punishment, but if you get an A on your next test, you can be my new pet," Izuku whispered in her ear. "Plus, thank you, sir. I'll do my best on the next test, and then I'll be your good girl." Mina whimpered, getting more and more turned on with each slap to her panty-clad pink butt. "Good girl," he said before delivering another slap to her butt. Mina was sweating intensely. She was currently about to receive the results for her math test via email. The one that would either give her a life of 𝗵𝗃𝗻𝗬 happiness with Izuku and any other girl that he was involved with, or a life of disappointment, knowing that she couldn't have the green-haired stud. "No pressure. Would you calm down? It'll be fine, and I made sure you were ready. Hey, you really studied your butt off," 𝗵𝗃𝗀 teased her. Izuku was at the gym, whilst Mina and 𝗵𝗃𝗀 were hanging out at his apartment. Shut up. Mina blushed as she recalled the day that she met her new crush, and then couldn't sit down for the rest of the day. "I don't remember any complaints from you, Pinky. And didn't 𝗵𝗃𝗀 carry you home because, and I quote, 'My poor red butt hurts too much to sit down on the train now?'" 𝗵𝗃𝗀 sassed at the pink-skinned girl. "Yeah, that was nice." Mina sighed happily at the memory of Izuku's arms around her as he took her home. It was a little difficult to explain to her mother though. Suddenly, Izuku came through the door, covered in sweat and making a beeline for the shower. "If you'll excuse me, I will now be using my right as MSDR's pet to see if he wants help getting clean," 𝗵𝗃𝗀 said, sticking her tongue out at the pink-skinned girl. "Beach," Mina grumbled as she laid down on the couch and began flipping through channels. "At least I'm MSDR's beach," 𝗵𝗃𝗀 said before going to the bathroom. When 𝗵𝗃𝗀 got into the bathroom, she saw that the shower was running and water vapor was pouring out the side. Striping down and sliding in the shower behind him, 𝗵𝗃𝗀 wrapped her arms around his well-toned midsection. "Hi, Mr. Can I help?" 𝗵𝗃𝗀 purred in his ear, causing him to turn and push her against the wall. "Aw, aren't you a sweet pet? Do you want to help your MSTR get cleaned?" Izuku said. "Why yes, MSTR. I figured you were sore." 𝗵𝗃𝗀 lied with a blush. "We both know my quirk doesn't let me get sore, only sweaty. If you wanted to grope me, you should have just begged like a good pet slot." Izuku told her with a smirk, his left hand pressed against the middle of her chest to pin her to the wall, while his right hand lightly traced its way down to just above her entrance where it tangled in the small patch of blonde 𝗵𝗃𝗀 before he tugged upward on it sharply, eliciting a strangled gasp and then a long from her. "So considerate of you to leave me something to tease you with when you shaved. Heh, masochistic little blood slut." Izuku taunted. Please, sir, stop teasing me. I'm so wet already." 𝗵𝗃𝗀 whined desperately, looking up at him with pleading eyes. "We're in a shower, pet. It'd be weird if you weren't wet." Izuku joked with a sadistic smirk. Sir, please." 𝗵𝗃𝗀 screamed out, causing Mina to smirk in the living room and Inko, who was about to walk in the apartment door, to immediately decide to go hang out with Mitsuki. I guess you don't really deserve more punishment. Brace yourself, blood slut," Izuku said before her against the wall, his muscular frame propelling his large pee-pee into her wet pages. Yes. Pee into your little blood slut's pee-pee with your massive pee-pee until I pass out." 𝗵𝗃𝗀 cried out, her legs shaking and her body only being held up by his hand and pee-pee pinning it to the wall. "Such language. Maybe I should spank you for each swear word that comes out of your salty little lips," Izuku said, his left hand moving to her throat and giving it a gentle squeeze as he thrusted faster. Fuckity FF. 𝗵𝗃𝗀 screeched in response to his increase in pace. "That puts your count at 8, pet," Izuku said, grunting as his pet's pee-pee spasmed around him as she came, moving up the timetable to his own orgasm. I don't care. I love it when you smack my salty little butt. I'd gladly bend over your knee while you sit on a bench in the mall if you told me to. I'll always do my best to be your good little blood slut. Just please don't stop me. Himiko swore to her 𝗵𝗃. That won't be necessary, little pet. Just keep being my cute and fuckable little blood slut. Izuku said, the gentle stroking of her hair contrasting the roughness in his thrusting. I will, 𝗵𝗃. I don't think I can go much longer. Himiko said, looking down and blushing. It's okay, pet, I'm close. Just hold out a bit longer for me, alright? Izuku said gently. He thrusted in silence for around 3 more minutes before pulling out and lowering her to the floor and thrusting into her mouth, letting loose his cum into her mouth and down her throat. Thank you, 𝗵𝗃. Himiko said with a mouthful of cum, slouched against the wall in exhaustion. You're welcome, pet. Let's get cleaned up and then we can cuddle on the couch with Mina. Izuku said, lifting her up and holding her limp body while he cleaned them both. Izuku shut the shower off and dried her with a big fluffy towel, causing her to blush at his intimacy before he helped her into a pair of panties and his t-shirt before slipping into a pair of boxers himself. I love you, Himiko said as he carried her into the living room and she snuggled into his peck. Love you too, little pet. You hungry girl. Izuku said as he set her on the couch next to Mina, but leaving room for him to sit between the two. Why yes, 𝗵𝗃. Can I have my meal while we cuddle? Himiko asked, burying her face into his chest and inhaling his scent. Sure, pet. Hey Mina, have you gotten your results back yet? Izuku asked as Himiko sank her fangs into his neck. No, not 𝐒𝐻. Mina started before her phone went off and notified her of her email. No, AB+. I was so close, damn it. Mina sobbed before looking down dejectedly. Aw, you poor girl. Guess you didn't quite get that. Izuku said, almost feeling bad for making her think she wasn't going to be his cute little pet alien. Don't rub it in, 𝗓𝗍. Mina said angrily through tears. Izuku felt the fangs leave his neck and heard soft snoring next to him, indicating that his pet had fallen asleep. He simply laid her down on the couch and covered her with a blanket before turning back to a dejected Mina. How many questions were you away from an A? Izuku inquired, his resistance to her cute pout draining from him by the second. 3. Mina grumbled as she dried her tears, knowing she would be shedding a lot more later. Izuku reached over and bent her over his knee, lifting her skirt up to expose her butt. What are you doing? Mina asked, confused. Well, my little alien, I know that I told you to get an A, but you failed your 𝗵𝗃. That deserves punishment, don't you think? Izuku said, tracing his finger around the outside of her pink and green panties. Mina suddenly realized what he was saying. I thought you said that I couldn't be 𝗓𝗏. Mina started before Izuku cut her off. Now I'm saying that you need to make up for each question away from an A, but I'm nice enough to let you choose your punishment. Either I'm going to tease you mercilessly for 3 minutes, or you get 3 hard smacks to your pretty pink butt. Choose quickly. Izuku ordered her, his hand resting firmly on her butt. Spanking please, sir. Teach your pet aliens but who it belongs to. Mina said, pulling her panties down off her but to leave herself bare for him. You've been such a naughty girl, not getting an A even though my other pet and I helped you study. Izuku growled before bringing his hand up and bringing it down 𝐻𝗪𝐷 on her left cheek, making her cry out loudly, waking Himiko up. Hey, poor girl. Can we pretty please play with her when her punishment is done? Himiko begged cutely before Izuku nodded in agreement as he held his finger to his lips and winked at her. Aw man, that sucks, but okay. Toga said in false disappointment as she winked back, all while Mina's face was pressed into the couch cushion by Izuku, effectively blinding and muffling her. Izuku delivered another slap to her but, this time on her right side, causing the cheeks to be a matching bright red. Naughty slut, you love it when I slap your cute alien butt, don't you? Izuku growled in her ear, sending shivers down the acid user's spine. Why yes sir. I love it when you slap my pink butt. I'm sorry I was such a bad girl, sir. I'll try to do better for you. Mina promised, the anticipation behind knowing that her last hit was coming, but she had no idea where it would hit, causing her to squirm. Himiko, meanwhile, was resisting the urge not to shove her hands down the front of her panties at the sight of her MCR punishing the cute girl in front of her, but she knew that Izuku wouldn't like her doing so without getting permission first. Mina was anticipating either cheek to get smacked, mentally trying to prepare, but there were two factors that she hadn't considered. Izuku liked symmetry. Izuku has large hands. She felt his hand come down much harder in the middle of her, but his hand covering half of each cheek, causing her to squeal loudly as his hand hit her. Izuku then carried her to his room and laid her down on his bed, with Himiko right on his heels. My little blood slut mentioned that she thinks you deserve a reward for taking your punishment like a good little alien slut. Izuku said as he pulled her panties off the rest of the way and began unfastening her shirt. She is going to be here for this? Mina asked, blushing. It wasn't that she was opposed to that sort of thing, but she knew she wouldn't be able to focus on both of them in the state she was in. Oh, don't worry, Mimi, I'll just be watching. Well, this time at least. Himiko said with a wink, coloring the pink girl's face red. Himi, I want you to sit there as my little alien here rests her head on her thighs, got it? Izuku commanded as finished undressing the blushing pink girl and pulled down his own boxers. Yes, Himiko said excitedly as she sat next to the new pet and Izuku grasped her head and set it on Himiko's lap. Himiko began soothingly running her hand through the pink girl's hair. Sir, I've never done anything like this before, and I've never had anything bigger than my fingers in there, Mina confessed, shyly trailing off towards the end. Ah, is my cute little pet alien nervous? It's okay, cutie, I'll go nice and slow at first, so just be a good girl, breathe and relax. Izuku said soothingly before gently pushing into her, causing her to squirm in discomfort, only to be comforted by her MR and fellow pet. Atta girl. You are so cute as you take my pee-pee in your little pages. Izuku said, hilting himself in her and soothingly rubbing her stomach. Please start moving and steer. It doesn't hurt anymore. Mina said after a bit, looking at him with her head propped up by Himiko's thighs. All right, pet. Hold still and let me F your little brains out. Izuku said before gripping her hips tightly and thrusting into her at a breakneck speed, turning Mina's brain to mush in seconds. Having fun, Mimi? Himiko teased the pink girl resting on her lap as she got railed into the bed. Shut you up, yes, Mr. right there. Mina screamed out as she came violently. Izuku pulled out of the dazed pink girl before he snapped at Himiko and pointed down at his still hard pages. You know what to do, blood slut. Get to work. Izuku growled, making Himiko scramble to get on her knees in front of him and put his pee-pee in her mouth, only to immediately look up at him with wide eyes. You and Mimi taste amazing together, she said before once again closing her lips around his pee-pee and sucking desperately. Be careful, pet. Remember, if I feel your fangs at all, no leaking for a week. Izuku reminded her as he patted her head. Himiko gulped at the reminder, knowing that just because she couldn't come didn't mean her MSTR wouldn't tease her. When I come, hold it all in your mouth until I tell you that you can swallow, and don't forget to smile. Izuku commanded. Izuku soon grunted as he came in her mouth, filling it up and causing her cheeks to bloat and her eyes to tear up. Izuku simply grabbed his phone and took a picture of her. Her cheeks were stretched to their limit, with some cum leaking through her lips, despite her best efforts to hold it all, her yellow cat-like eyes filled with involuntary tears as she looked up at him smiling the best she could. You can swallow, pet. You look like such a pretty little cum slut for me. Izuku said, picking her up and setting her on the bed, crawling into bed between his pets, who immediately curled into his sides as they seeked his warmth. My good girls. 𝗵𝗲 loves both you, my little blood slut and my little space slut. Let's take a nap before I take Mina home. Izuku said, causing Mina to let out a whine. But I don't want to go home tonight. Can't I just stay with you and Himi tonight? Mina whined, squeezing him tighter. Fine. If you can find a way to convince your parents, you can certainly stay here with me and your fellow pet. Izuku said, kissing her cheek. Mina whipped out her phone and shot a text to her mom. Lil Pinky, hey mom. Can I stay with Himiko tonight? Mamashito, I don't mind, but isn't that the girl whose boyfriend you have a crush on? The one who carried you home after you two studied. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, you can't prove my crush too. She mentioned she might share him. 𝗵𝗃𝗁, are you sure that's what you want in a relationship where you share your boyfriend with another girl? 𝗧𝗵𝗃, he's worth it. Good night, Mom, I love ya. 𝗵𝗃𝗁, love you too, baby, but it's only 11 a.m. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, I'm gonna take a nap and won't see you for the rest of the day. 𝗵𝗃𝗁, alright, fair enough. Good night. I can stay, but at some point I'll have to tell my mom that we are both dating 𝗬𝗲𝗏 to avoid suspicion. Mina said, hugging Izuku's side again. I don't mind. I know 𝗬𝗲𝗏 won't forget about his silly little blood slut, so it's not a big deal. Himiko said drowsily from his other side. Mina looked to her 𝗬𝗲𝗏 for his reaction, but only found a sleeping young man who came home from the gym, his two girls, and was now utterly exhausted. It had been some time since Mina officially became the property of Izuku Midoriya as his pet alien, and she couldn't have been happier. The last few months had been spent with her 𝗬𝗲𝗏 and Himiko, and it had been filled with a lot of affection and SEC that made her feel loved and cared for. Her mother had been skeptical about her daughter sharing a boyfriend with another girl, but she didn't seem to mind at all when even the lowest of Mina's grades were raised to at least A/B. Himiko and Mina continued to diligently do as their 𝗬𝗲𝗏 commanded them, and were promptly rewarded every time, albeit in different ways. Over the last year in middle school, Izuku had noticed key differences in what his two pets liked. Mina liked it when he was more forceful with her, enjoying being spanked and called his dirty little space slut, spat on, choked almost violently, called degrading names, forced to beg for practically everything, and losing her mind when he face-fucked her while gripping her horns for leverage. She had insisted that he refer to her as his personal property that belonged to him only. Himiko, on the other hand, liked it when he was a little more gentle. She enjoyed it when he would pet her head while he fed her in his lap, her doggy-style gently, called her his good girl, and acted possessive of her. When she got choked, she preferred he do it slowly and intimately, slowly cutting off her oxygen. She enjoyed her spankings, but instead of getting off on being called a naughty pet like Mina, she preferred it when he pet her between slaps and told her she was a good girl for sitting there and taking it without complaining. Izuku theorized that it was their past that made them act the way they did. Mina liked the possession aspect due to people not accepting her because of her quirk, and enjoying being reassured that she had someone who wouldn't push her away, while Himiko enjoyed the softer undertones because of her trauma over her situation before he found her, the shame she felt for hurting people, and liking how he made her feel loved and taken care of. Izuku's two pets' individual interests led to some interesting experiences, such as the one he was currently experiencing. It was the last day of school, and Izuku woke up to his end alien nuzzling the side of his neck while his equally naked little vampire licked the tip of his nose playfully. Hey cuties! Up already? Izuku said while sitting up, used to such awakenings by now. Yep. You need to punish Mimi for touching herself. She rubbed herself while smelling your yummy pee-pee. Himiko said brightly with a smirk on her face. Snitch. Mina grumbled under her breath while blushing hard. Aw, thanks for the tip, cutie. Izuku said to Himiko before kissing her cheek and giving her NPL a light pinch, then turning to a blushing and excited Mina. Izuku reached over and cupped her moist entrance, and ground the pads of his hands into her CLT. Naughty girl, did you forget who this belongs to? Izuku growled, noticing a dramatic increase in fluid when he did so. Why, sir? This pink alien pee-pee belongs to Mr. Midoriya. Mina stuttered, looking down as he rubbed her. That's right. So why the hell did you think it was okay to play with my things without asking permission first? Izuku growled menacingly, the hand on her, or rather his, pee-pee reporting that she enjoyed this very much. I'm sorry, sir. I know I've been so bad, but when I smell your yummy pee-pee I lose control of myself. I'm sorry that my stupid little alien brain gets overwhelmed by Mr.'s big pages. See, can I please come? Mina pouted as Izuku did his best to make her lose her mind and revert to a cute little fuck pet. No. Your punishment is that I'm going to be playing with your delicious pink body and you won't come until I say you can. Now spread Izuku commanded, pushing Mina to her back. Mina obediently spread her legs, revealing her glistening core to her Mr. The ass cheeks too, naughty girl. I said I'd be playing with your body and that's what I intend to do. Izuku growled, giving a light slap to her exposed PP, causing her to cry out and squirm before reaching down and pulling her thick and soft ass cheeks apart from each other, showing off both of her lower holes. I like this, sir? Mina asked shyly. She was pretty interested, albeit a bit nervous, in what her 𝗵𝗃 would do to her. Just like that, my naughty little pet alien. I'm going to have to abuse those cute little holes of yours, you little beach. He warned before shoving 2 fingers into her sopping pages. Sir. Mina whined, squirming as he roughly fingered her, curling his fingers in order to build up even more pressure. I will be your little butt. I suggest that you make lube to use before I decide that you don't deserve any. Izuku advised, watching her to see when she was close so he could stop. They had found out about a week into his ownership of her that she could make acid with high pH levels which killed any and all bacteria without damaging him on a level he could feel. If it was anyone else, the acid would agitate the sensitive skin over time, but his quirk kept his skin safe from such damages. Mina briefly let go of her ass cheek in one hand to make the lube pool in her hand, only to be scooped up by her 𝗵𝗃 before he slapped her thigh with his other hand. Get that pink but spread open again. Now, Izuku commanded as he applied the lube to his PP, and then to her but after she complied. Sir. Mina said in the small voice she used whenever she wanted to ask for something. What is it, little beach? Izuku growled, slipping a finger into her but to spread more lube around. See, can you please go slow? If you go fast, I'll be a bad girl and see come really fast. She said, blushing and looking down in embarrassment. Ah, my poor little alien doesn't want to be a bad girl anymore. You don't want 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 to give you spankings for leaking too fast? Izuku questioned, continuing to pump his thick fingers in her 2 adjacent holes. Why you know I love when you spank my little pink butt, 𝗧𝗏, but I'll be too sore to go to school, and it's the day of the mock exams today. I want to go to UA with you, 𝗧𝗏, and I can't do that if I don't do very well on the tests. Mina said, her golden eyes moist as she explained. She had been excited when Izuku told her that he had gotten in UA by recommendation from All Might himself, and she just had to get in through the usual methods. Izuku felt his heart melt a little when she explained why she was passing on one of her favorite parts of being his pet, which was of course the spankings. Ah, you're such a considerate little pet, aren't you? Just this once, you can come as much as you want without asking permission, but you had better do very well on the exams today. Does that sound good, little pet? Izuku amended, never stopping his teasing of both her PP and her butt. Why yes, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Please hurry and my tight cute little butt. I promise that I will do well on the test, but can I have my spankings after school? I love it when you hit my pink butt. I'm such a little 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 for you. Mina whimpered as she made her request. Of course, little pet. I'll smack that cute little butt after school. Himiko. Be a good girl and give Mina a kiss while I her cute butt. Izuku said, gently tossing Mina on top of Himiko before lining himself up with her puckered hold. Himiko said excitedly, pulling the pink girl into a kiss and swallowing her moans from what their shared 𝗃𝗏 was doing to the pink girl on top of her. About the same time they found out about the acidic lube, Himiko had gotten handsy with the pink girl, and when they asked her if she was bisexual, she gave a smile and said that she liked anything that had to do with her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, so why wouldn't she like 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏r's little space slut? After finding out that bit of information, Mina said that she didn't mind if it was Himiko, but she would always like kissing Izuku much better, a sentiment that was shared by Himiko. As predicted, Mina came only about 7 seconds after Izuku entered her butt, and came several times after he sped up, with Himiko smiling into the very one-sided kiss as Mina shuddered and whimpered against her. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, she doesn't kiss as well when she's getting her cute butt pounded. Himiko pouted as Mina held onto her and buried her face in the blonde's neck, inhaling deeply. Himiko would spend all day in Izuku's house, laying in his bed and snuggling his pillows until he comes home and she latches onto him immediately. This had the side effect of making her smell almost identical to Izuku, with the exception being that she smelled sweet instead of the musky smell that surrounded the green-haired boy. Aw, poor girl. I'll make sure to give you a nice long kiss as a reward for holding her when I'm done. Speaking of which, I'm getting close, my little alien slut. Izuku said, grunting as he thrusted into her but faster before finishing and dumping a large amount of cum into her. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 come in your whittle spaff sluts af. Mina slurred, going limp against 𝐒𝐵𝐽𝐻. Hehe, I think you broke her auntie. 𝐒𝐵𝐽𝐻 informed her 𝗵𝗃 as she held the freshly pet. Thank you 𝗵𝗃. I will owe you. Mina said, sufficiently stupid. Izuku chuckled and pulled his broken pet off 𝗵𝗃𝗲, setting them down and letting them curl into his side. We have to go to school in about an hour, so rest up, Mina. I love you, little pet. Izuku said, kissing her forehead before turning to 𝗵𝗃𝗲. You love being my little pet cum slut, don't you? Izuku asked, pulling her close to him, kissing her gently. Yes, I'm your good little pet, right? Please tell me I'm a good girl. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 begged as Izuku held her close. Yes, you are my good little cutie. Do you want to cuddle with me? Izuku asked gently before noticing that she wasn't meeting his eyes. I wanted to try something else with you. I saw it on your computer and it sounded really nice. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 said shyly, nuzzling his collarbone. Aw, what is it, cutie? If you want, we can try it. Izuku said, petting her head. It was called cockwarming. It's like cuddling, but I get to keep your big pee-pee inside of me. I thought it sounded good. She said shyly, nibbling on her bottom lip. Aw, aren't you sweet? Do you want to try it until me and Mimi have to go to school? Izuku asked, stroking her cheek softly. She usually liked loving things that were also at least a little rough, but she also would sometimes just want him to hold her and let her know she was safe and protected by him. See, can I? She trailed off shyly. Come here, little pet. Izuku said, pushing his still hard pee-pee into her pee-pee, which caused her to squirm in brief discomfort, and cuddling with her, only to be disturbed by a pair of pink arms wrapping around his midsection. Aw, you guys are doing cockwarming. That's so cute. I'm next though, right? A newly recovered Mina squealed out, kissing the back of Izuku's neck before Izuku turned to his back, letting 𝗵𝗃𝗲 lay on top of him. Did you just call me cute? Weren't you the one who just lost most of her motor skills after being in the butt? Izuku asked, resting his hand on her posterior cheek and giving it a slap. You are simultaneously the cutest and sexiest person I have ever met, Mina said in her usual peppy voice. Big talk for someone who wants me to spank her later. Izuku said with a smirk as he tapped her recently abused but with the arm that was cupping her ass cheek, causing the pink girl resting on his shoulder to cry out loudly. Line break. Izuku skipped out of school early on the last day of school and went to meet 𝗏𝗏 on the beach. 𝗏𝗏 had been giving him lessons on boxing and wrestling, as well as lectures on how to be a hero that saved people with a smile, putting them at ease even as he smashed villains into the ground. It was strange that 𝗏𝗏 had requested to meet him on a weekday, as they usually met on the weekends before he went to the gym. He had put on a decent amount of muscle, not even close to as bulky as his heroic mentor, but he was obviously no slouch in a fight. For his basic build, think of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, young Midoriya, over here. 𝗏𝗏 called out to him from a bench, already in his depowered form as he usually was when they trained. He had been training with him for a month when he revealed to him the truth of his condition, as well as instructing him to call him by his real name when he wasn't in his buff form. Hey Mr. Yagi, why did you need to talk to me so urgently? Izuku asked him. You know, you are a pretty inspiring kid. The #1 hero began, gesturing for the aspiring hero to sit next to him. Okay. Are you alright, Mr. Yagi? You seem down. Izuku asked in concern. Let me finish. I am not the man I used to be, and you know why. I like to think that I made a positive impact on this world by being a symbol of peace and hope, but that's a double-edged sword. Could you imagine what would happen if I failed to save people? The effect on society if people found out I'm getting weaker. The day we met was a wake-up call. If you hadn't been there, I would have failed to save those people because I've been too stubborn to admit my own weakness. I knew when I was first injured that I needed to find someone to take my place when I retire, and I was sure it would be a young man named Mirio Togata until I met you. I had hoped that I would be able to hold out until you had graduated from UA, but it seems that that will not be the case. After we part today, I will be calling a press conference to announce my retirement, as well as request my fellow heroes to stay strong until the debut of my successor. But I will leave your identity out of it until your graduation. Before you ask how, let me tell you about my quirk, All Might said, before going on to tell Izuku about a powerful quirk called One for All. Izuku had hesitated to eat his mentor's hair, but choked it down and immediately rinsed his mouth out with the gross ocean water. Now, we have 10 months to get you used to my immense power, so I hope you are good with giving up your afternoons. Now, let's get that arm broken. All Might said, much too cheerfully for Izuku's liking. Line break. It had been 10 months since Izuku began his training with One for All, his healing factor patching him back together after he broke himself with his quirk. He remembered how much Himiko, Mina, and his mother screamed at the former #1 hero when they visited the beach to surprise the young man and found out that Izuku was breaking himself over and over, that is until Izuku took both the girls away to comfort them, leaving his starstruck mother with a blushing and awkward All Might. He could now punch with One for All up to 40% without breaking his arms and leap into the air up to 50 feet without hurting his legs, but it did decimate his clothes, something that All Might assured him the support corps students could help him with. Izuku's pain tolerance was practically superhuman, with him hardly flinching as he decimated his arms with a 100% punch. The day that Mina proudly showed him her acceptance letter was also a day he promised to give her whatever she wanted as a reward, which involved a lot of SEC and cuddling while playing video games, as well as letting her give him a dancing lesson. Himiko was put out when she found out that he would be staying in a dormitory, but when Mina promised to find a way to sneak her in, she cheered up, saying she wouldn't have to keep quiet to not disturb his mom while he F her. You really didn't need to help me with this, cuties, Izuku said as Mina and Himiko helped him carry boxes into his new room at the UA campus, even if he was carrying twice as many boxes as his 2 pets combined. We wanted to. And how else am I supposed to plan my break-ins? Himiko said cheerfully as she set his box of journals volumes 1 through 12 down on his dresser. Yeah. Besides, you should go meet the other recommendation students while we set up your room like good little pet waifus. Mina suggested as she made his bed. Izuku left before the blush on his face became worse, struggling not to think about Mina and Himiko in their collars and aprons/maid outfits. He made his way to the common area and noticed a girl struggling with a massive bed. She stood as tall as him, at least when she wasn't bent over trying to pull a large bed. Izuku also noticed that she had a very curvy body, and black spiky hair pulled back into a ponytail. Would you like some help? Izuku asked, averting his eyes from her rear end before it got too creepy. I assure you that I can Momo began before she looked at the boy offering his assistance. He was the same height as her, something that she knew would eventually change in his favor, and was standing in a pair of blue jeans and a tank top. Her eyes traced over the lines of his toned muscles, even risking a glance down at his pelvis and noticing that his pants were a little tight around his manhood. He had green hair that matches his intense eyes as he looked at her in concern. Momo had lived a very sheltered life, and it seemed that the first boy her age she actually met was also the most handsome boy she would meet at all. If you wouldn't mind lending your assistance, Momo said with a blush, standing and moving so he could grab the heavy bed where she had been trying to. She had been regretting not hiring someone to help her, but as she admired the form of the boy who would be her new classmate, she couldn't think of a better outcome. And my name is Momo Yaoyorozu, by the way, Momo said, watching in awe as the muscle-bound young man easily lifted the heavy bed into the air. Izuku Midoriya. Izuku introduced himself, shifting the bed to his left arm and holding his right arm out for a handshake. Momo blushed and shook his hand before guiding him to her room in the dorm. Izuku continued to help his new classmate move in, carrying the heaviest of her furniture as easily as if it was made from cardboard, when Himiko found him. Hey Mr. Where do you want your All Might figurines? Himiko asked him before noticing the other girl in the room. Hi. I'm Himiko Toga, 𝐒𝐻𝐢's little pet blood slut. It's nice to meet you. Izuku had finished moving in himself and Momo with the assistance of his 2 enthusiastic pets. He had also offered to help the other recommendation student, but the heterochromatic-eyed boy just stared at him for a moment before walking away and locking himself in his room. Momo had been a blushing mess as she watched the way that 𝗵𝗄 interacted with Izuku, and even got a little jealous when he would show affection to the energetic blonde. That does look pleasant, Momo thought as Izuku rubbed the blonde's head and called her a good girl, a reward for when she brought him the wrench he needed to assemble Momo's bed clutched between her teeth like a dog with a stick. 𝗵𝗃. Doesn't Momo look so pretty in a dress? Doesn't she look so curvy and soft? 𝗵𝗄 said as she held Momo's family picture of their picnic up so Izuku could see. 𝗵𝗄. Why don't you go help Mina make lunch? Izuku said, trying to spare the bright red Momo from his first pet's notorious teasing. Momo was just glad that Mina wouldn't be acting sexually towards the brunette if he was already claimed by the blonde. That means yes. 𝗵𝗄 whispered to Momo, making the girl blush even harder, before turning to Izuku. Of course, 𝗵𝗃. But you're going to feed me when you guys eat, right? 𝗵𝗄 asked with wide pleading eyes, giving Izuku the feeling that he was walking into a trap that was carefully planned by his crafty BLD-dependent pet. Yeah, that's fine. Izuku said, coughing awkwardly as she talked about one of the more NTMT acts of their relationship. Did you know his BLD is even better than his yummy cum? Well, to me at least, Mina disagrees. 𝗵𝗄 said to the young heiress before skipping away to find Mina and tell her of her plans to get another girl for their Momo was screaming internally the implications, and then mentally shutting down at the blatant remarks that 𝗵𝗄 made. I'm sorry about her, she can be a little uninhibited when she gets excited. She's probably just hungry. Izuku explained, scratching the back of his head awkwardly. It is alright. I haven't interacted with people my own age very much, so this is good that I have this experience to use for future interactions. Momo said, reverting to her habit of formality due to the lack of her brain functionality. Yeah, I wouldn't use 𝗵𝗄 as an example of how normal people our age act. Most people our age don't talk about that sort of thing in front of strangers. Izuku chuckled nervously, looking for an excuse to get out of the conversation with the equally embarrassed heiress. Food's done. Get it while it's hot. Mina called throughout the dorms, causing Izuku and Momo to both run for the door of her room in order to escape the awkwardness, only to crash into each other. Momo felt the air get driven from her lungs as she came in contact with the wall of muscle, causing her to gasp on the ground as she tried to breathe. I am so sorry, are you okay? Izuku asked, his voice filled with concern as he scooped her up in her arms, his eyes searching for damage. Momo was about to assure him that she was perfectly fine, but was stopped by her own mind. Specifically, the part of her mind that was less interested in rationale, and more interested in the smell of the boy holding her close to his chest in his muscle-hardened arms. What do you think you are doing? You say we're okay and he lets go of us. Her Izuku crazed side shouted at her. But we didn't sustain any real damage. Rational Momo protested. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 muscles here doesn't know that. The new Izumomo shipper screamed. But he has a significant other. She argued back at herself. All the more reason to enjoy this as long as you can. Retorted her less than clear-thinking side. Yaoyorozu. How many fingers? Izuku asked, holding up 4 fingers. Oh, she could probably take 3 of her own fingers, but I doubt she could take more than 2 of yours. 𝗵𝗄 said with a smirk as she looked at the dazed girl. This isn't the time, 𝗵𝗄, she might be hurt. Izuku said, panicking that she might be hurt in some way. Oh yeah, and Mina and I are totally hurt when we get that never let go of me, you CC beast look on our faces. 𝗵𝗄 sassed sarcastically as she crossed her arms, unhappy that this girl was getting hugs from her 𝗵𝗃 so easily. Hey, how come she gets cuddles, but me and 𝗵𝗃 have to beg like good girls to get them? Mina complained, coming to the scene shortly after 𝗵𝗄 did, feeling just as jealous as 𝗵𝗄. Teach, that's not what is happening. Momo protested before realizing her slip-up and running back into her room, slamming and locking the door behind her with a blush that made her look like a red tomato. I thought I told you two to play nice, not tease her relentlessly. Izuku growled at his 2 pets, stepping close to the 2 girls and making them feel small. You're so right, 𝗃𝗃. I've been a bad girl and deserve to be punished. Mina said, pouting up at him cutely. You're right. You two can't stay here tonight. Izuku decreed, his eyes darkened as he was angered by the possibility of ruining any chance of friendship with the heiress. Little did he know that on the other side of the wall Momo was screaming into a pillow as she tried to get rid of mental images of 𝗵𝗃 Midoriya calling her a good girl. But that's too mean. Mina cried out, realizing that her plan had backfired. Linebreak Izuku had carried his pets both home, assuring them that he still loved them as much as ever, but they were still being punished. Be really good girls and you can stay with me tomorrow night, Izuku said before kissing them goodnight and heading back to his dorm, not nearly cruel enough to completely cut them off. Izuku suddenly woke up in the middle of the night, only to see the other male recommendation student perched on the foot of his bed, looking down at him. "Did you make the soba?" he asked, his voice somehow both excited and monotone at the same time. "A girl named Mina made it," Izuku said, severely creeped out. "And will she be returning to make more?" the strange boy demanded. "I mean, she'll be here tomorrow, and she's in 1A with us, so yeah," Izuku said, wondering if he would have to defend his pet from a weirdo. "Excellent. It would be a shame if your hands were somehow damaged in my pursuit of soba. Good night," the boy said before calmly getting off Izuku's bed and walking out, closing the door on his way out. Izuku didn't get any more sleep that night. Linebreak Izuku continued to adjust to life in the dorm, getting his pink pet to make soba for the other recommendation students so that he could avoid getting his hands permanently damaged, which might be the boy's quirk for all Izuku knew. When he told Mina, she just laughed at him and called him a silly M. The day the other students arrived was a day full of new potential friends for his energetic pink pet. She was one of the first people in the class, due to the fact that Power Loader had asked Izuku for help moving in some new students. "Hi. I'm Mina Ishido," she said to a girl with earphone jacks hanging from her earlobes. "Kyoka-jire, could you not yell please? I have sensitive hearing," the girl now identified as Jiru requested in a bored tone. "Oh, I'm sorry. Is that part of your quirk?" Mina asked, getting an affirmative nod as a girl with her tongue hanging out walked over. "Hi, I'm Azui, call me 𝗬𝗓, the girl said bluntly. Suddenly, their attention was drawn away by a blonde guy kicking the door in and spotting them before stomping over. "Oh look, it's Frog Beach and her freak friends," Bakugo sneered, his hands sparking. Tsu simply put on a passive face, trying to hide the fact that she was terrified of the bully until Jiru spoke up. "Dude, quit being in butt," Jiru said in annoyance. She could already tell she didn't like this guy at all. "It's not my fault that all of you beaches are freaks. The only one who looks normal is Cow Tips over there," he taunted, the sparks coming from his hands becoming small explosions. Momo's eyes teared up at the words of the second boy she had ever met. She then realized that Midoriya was a much better person than he could have been, and gained even more respect and admiration for the kind boy who helped her move in. "Well, guess what, Frog Beach? That Deku isn't here to save you this time," he said with manic glee. Suddenly, a large, powerful hand rested on the explosive butt's shoulder. "That's not very nice, Kaken," Izuku said, making himself known to the bully. This was the boy's only warning before he was thrown across the room, into a wall. Izuku rushed over to Mina, checking her pink skin for injuries. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you? Did he even lay a finger on you?" Izuku asked, fussing over the pink girl, worried that his pet was hurt by the blonde bully. "I'm fine, sir. He just said some mean things about me and the other girls. Can I have a kiss to make me feel better?" Mina asked, wanting physical reassurance that her MSTR found her attractive. "Mina, there's other people around," Izuku reminded her, shy about the PDA. "Please, sir. He called me a freak," she said, her gold and black eyes becoming moist with unshed tears. In response, Izuku sighed and pulled his pet in for a kiss, lifting her up to his height and cradling her in his arms. "UDMN Deku. How'd you get into UA? You didn't even take the entrance exam." Bakugo raged, getting up from the base of the damaged wall where he was tossed. "Recommendation, but," Izuku informed him, "didn't I tell you to knock your bullying SHT off? You almost made my little alien cry," Izuku said, the lightness in his tone juxtaposed against the angry fire burning in his eyes. I thought that blonde girl was your pet freak. I guess I just didn't realize how many freaks were desperate enough to be into your useless but... Bakugo said, stalking towards him. The room grew silent at his words and Momo, who had seen the strength of the green-haired boy, almost felt bad for the blonde prick. Izuku shot his right hand out and grabbed the front of Bakugo's shirt, lifting him off the ground. Let go of me, Deku. Bakugo yelled before Izuku raised his left hand and flicked towards the exterior wall using 100% of one for all, temporarily destroying his finger but keeping his eyes locked on his bully the entire time. The entire group of gathered teenagers watched in awe as the wind pressure from the flick blew a large hole in the wall and tossed several desks around, shattering and crushing them. I'm a bit stronger than the last time we fought, Katsuki, and you are a lot softer than a wall. You should go get those ribs checked out. Izuku growled in his ear before setting him down and turning away. What the hell do you mean? There's nothing wrong with my _. Izuku cut the thug off by whirling around and punching his right side without one for all, cracking 6 ribs. Recovery girl's office is down the hall. You might have a punctured lung, so you should go get that checked out too. Izuku said cheerfully before turning to the assembled students. Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you all, he said brightly as Bakugo staggered out, clutching his side. The rest of the students had gathered in the 1A classroom, with the only person not there being Bakugo. They were all at their desks when a homeless-looking man rushed into the room. My apologies for being late, it will not happen again. Where's the last student? And why is there a hole in my wall? The insomniac questioned, already seeming to be done with the entire week. I assume that you are our teacher, based on both your presence and the fact that you refer to it as your wall. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you, as I was not yet here when it happened. A tall guy said, chopping his hand through the air. So why'd you talk at all? Someone who was here, tell me. The teacher asked, pinching the bridge of his nose. The missing guy, Kaken or Katsuki he was called both, was being in but. Then Green over there threw him into a wall, then picked him up, and flicked at the wall to prove a point and threaten him. Then he set him down and punched his ribs, probably breaking them. Jiryu said, shooting Midoriya an apologetic look. She wasn't lying, but the dude did at least partially defend her. His name is Katsuki Bakugo. Is that what happened, Midoriya? The teacher asked, sitting down at his desk. Yes sir, sorry. Izuku said, looking down. So who was the bully then? The butt, or the overpowered guy who injured someone and blew a hole in my wall to make a point? You know, I've expelled people for much less. He continued, calmly setting his desk up for the day. Hey, you can't expel him, the other guy was the one who was picking on us. Mina said, trying to defend her MSTR. Aizawa was about to say, are you sure about that? But was cut off. No, he's right. I let my emotions get out of control and overreacted. It was wrong of him to act that way, but it was worse to actually hurt someone and damage property because of it. If you wish to expel me, I will not make a scene or anything. Midoriya said, realizing he took it too far. Aizawa waited a bit, letting the class wait in anticipation, as well as gauge their reactions. Jiro and Azui looked guilty, indicating that they didn't think he deserved expulsion for what he did, or they felt responsible. Maybe he was defending them. Yaoyorozu and Ishido looked like they might cry, indicating a closeness with this year's problem child. One of them might be his girlfriend, most likely the pink one who defended him. All the others seemed at least a little scornful at the boy, indicating they were not around for the event, and did not hear what the missing student said that upset the 4 girls and problem child. If you didn't say that, you'd be out on your butt by now. If you use your power like that, you'll be more villain than hero, but I only expel people with no potential. Give it your all today and I'll decide if you can stay. Aizawa said before letting his head drop on the desk. Get changed into your gym clothes and meet me outside. He said before nodding off. Line break. As soon as they got into the hallway, Mina walked over and got in Jiro's face. What's your problem? He just defended you from that asshat and you snitch him out like that. Mina demanded, angry that the guy she loved was nearly expelled, only to be wrapped up by two muscular arms belonging to Izuku and having her face buried in his chest. She was just being honest, pet. I took it too far. When you really think about it, she acted more like a hero than I did," he said, his chest vibrating against her cheek. _𝗫𝗀 blushed at his words before walking to the locker rooms faster to hide her burning face. "I still don't like it." Mina pouted, her arms crossed. "It's fine, I'll just have to prove that I have potential today, and it'll be okay," Izuku said, rubbing her back soothingly. They then walked to the locker rooms together, Mina even getting another kiss before they departed. When Izuku walked into the bathroom, he saw a certain grape head holding a hand drill up to the wall that separated the two locker rooms, almost all the way through. Izuku rushed forward and lifted him by the front of his gym clothes. "What the hell do you think you are doing, you little creep?" Izuku demanded, glaring down at the boy, who almost pissed himself immediately. "Why you can't hurt me, you'll be expelled." The grape-haired boy stuttered, his tone wholly lacking in conviction. "That's fine by me. I have a friend in the top 10 heroes, and you don't need a degree from UA specifically to be a hero. I won't, however, allow you to violate the privacy of the girls on the other side of that wall," he growled, having no idea of what was going on in the girls' locker room. Linebreak Mina walked into the girls' locker room and was surprised to see everyone was still dressed and the girl who ratted out Izuku had an earphone stabbed into the wall. "What's going on?" Mina asked, frowning in confusion. "One of the boys was trying to drill through the wall and peek in on us, so we decided not to get undressed yet, but it sounds like your boyfriend has it handled," _𝗫𝗀 said, trying not to feel satisfied as the sound of a punch sounded through the boys' locker room. "Izuku. Oh, he's not my boyfriend, I'm his little pet alien," Mina said cheerfully as she started changing. "What does that mean?" _𝗫𝗀 asked, only to be answered by a blushing Momo. "He is in a polyamorous relationship with a Shido and a girl named Toga. They pretend to be his pets, which is a K&K they all have," Momo said, covering her face in embarrassment. "He has started a HRM of pet girls. I'm still waiting for my invitation, 𝗓𝗏," Tsu said, surprising all of the girls. "Oh, is it really? I mean, I don't decide who gets in, but I'll put in a good word for you," Mina said, pulling on her gym clothes. "Wait, that is an option," Momo asked hopefully, memories of the interactions between Izuku and his pets getting her excited all over again. "Sure, you both want in. I'll see what I can do," Mina said before stepping out of the locker room fully dressed in her gym clothes and waiting for her MC like a good girl. Line break, the students stood on the practice field and listened to the instructions from their teacher. "You're going to be using your quirks to the extreme of your abilities today. Problem child in the circle," Aizawa said, gesturing to the circle in the middle of the pitching range. "Throw the ball as far as possible. Do whatever you want as long as you don't leave the circle. I will tell you what you get using this device here," the teacher said after he had gotten in the circle, holding up a display. Izuku wasted no time launching the ball with 100% of one for all, cracking the ground he stood on and obliterating his arm, which his quirk immediately began healing. "What did he get?" Ochako asked as the teacher hadn't said anything yet, just starting at his device. "I'll let you know when it lands," the man said, watching the display continue to climb in numbers to obscene levels. "It's still going. What the hell, deck dash?" Bakugo shouted, only to be cut off. 367,694 meters. He said, trying to keep his tone unimpressed even though he was very impressed indeed. "Holy, the guy with tape dispensers on his elbows?" The rest of the apprehension test went the same as canon, with the exception of Midoriya dominating most of them. I wanted to write more on this, but I was hitting a massive block and if I didn't skip this I'd never get this posted. Sorry about that. As the last student finished the test, Aizawa just looked the results over and grunted before walking towards the school. "Hey wait, did Midoriya pass?" Mina asked the retreating form of the insomnia. "He has the raw power to be a top 5 hero now. And he has a recommendation from All Might himself. He can stay for now, but I suggest you all realize that it makes you all look weak in comparison," Aizawa said, walking off to find a place to sleep. Sir, you can stay. I can sleep in your room tonight, right? Mina asked, leaping at him and wrapping her arms and legs around his body and nuzzling his neck to breathe in his scent. Yeah, girl. I don't know if 𝐒𝐵 is coming though. Izuku said, his hands on her but to hold her up. He felt a little awkward about her being so affectionate in front of their classmates, but he didn't have the heart to order her to stop. I hope she comes. As much as I want you all to myself, I'd be really sad if I was in her place, so she should get to stay with you too. Mina said, fully aware of the awkwardness she was generating, but also didn't care as long as her beloved 𝗵𝗃 continued to hold her. I'll text her in a bit, pet, but I want you to be a good girl until later. If you want punishment, you can ask for it like a good little alien 𝗵𝗃. Izuku growled quietly in her ear. Why yes sir. I'll be a good girl for you, but I love it when you treat me, you know, roughly. Mina said while blushing. Roughly? Be more specific, little alien slut. Izuku commanded, squeezing her butt in his hands and drawing out of his pet. I want you to treat me badly. I want you to call me your little alien breeding 𝗵𝗃, your personal little fuck pet. I want you to use me however you want and shove my face into the ground as you F me senseless. I've been such a naughty little pet for you, so please punish me. Mina said, losing her stutter as she got lost in her fantasy. Is little Mina a cute little 𝗵𝗃 as well as being my space slut? Do you want me to try and break me on my pages? Do you want to wake up with marks on your neck from how much I've been choking you with your collar? We still need to get you one so everyone will know who you belong to. Izuku teased, using the fact that he was holding her to grind his clothed abs over her clothed pages. Sir, you're making me all wet in my gym clothes. Mina whined, wanting nothing more than for him to take her to the nearest bathroom and F her to the point that she couldn't walk back to his room. All of this conversation happened away from the others with their voices low, but that didn't make a difference for the resident rocker girl. 𝗔𝗀 stood there with a bright red face as she listened to the lewd things that the pink girl wanted from the attractive boy. Well, being his little pet does sound nice. I bet he'd rub my head and call me his good girl while I say his cock. Down girl. 𝗔𝗀 thought, her mind filled with dirty images featuring her and Izuku. She looked over and noticed that Izuku was carrying the pink-haired girl to the dorms, and suddenly had the inexplicable urge to go in her room and totally not listen in on them and pretend that Izuku is telling her what to do instead of her pink classmate. Line break Izuku threw Mina onto his bed, causing her to bounce slightly and let out an eep. You want me to mistreat you, you little alien 𝗵𝗃? Izuku asked, his question doubling as dirty talk and also making sure that she still wanted that. Yes, I'm your bad space slut, and I need you to put me in my place. Mina whimpered, rubbing her thighs in anticipation. That's right, sir. Time to really give it to me. Really make me your 𝗵𝗃. Mina thought, her clothes feeling tight and making her desperately want to be rid of them, but not wanting to do anything that might impede him from giving her inner 𝗵𝗃 everything it wanted. Take your gym clothes off, before I lose my patience and tear them off. He growled, Izuku said, stripping out of his own clothes. Yes, sir. Mina said, taking her clothes off faster than she ever had before. She was down to her underwear and about to pull off her elastic sports bra, but was stopped by a now naked Izuku grabbing her small wrists in one hand and pinning them to his headboard. Too slow, Izuku said before grabbing the front of her bra and tearing it off her chest with a loud rip. Izuku then looped her ruined bra around the headboard and tying her hands to the top of his bed. Yes, 𝗵𝗃, put me in my place. Dumb fuckpets like me don't need to be able to move as long as you break me with your massive pages. Mina cried out, quivering as he ghosted his hand on her exposed midriff and underboob. Last I checked, little 𝗵𝗃s didn't talk. Lay there and take what you deserve, pet. Izuku growled, peeling off her soaked panties. Sorry, sir. Mina said before her black and gold eyes widened, realizing she disobeyed him immediately. Naughty little 𝗵𝗃, you really want your punishment. I guess you can't be trusted to keep quiet like you were told. Open your salty little lips up, now. Izuku demanded, shoving her soaked panties in her mouth as soon as she opened, causing her to choke on her own juice-covered garment. You're going to really abuse my body, aren't you, Mr. Diamond, The aftercare tonight is going to be awesome too. Mina thought into her makeshift GG when his hand clamped down on her throat. I don't have much equipment to punish you with, but I'll probably be able to make you squirm with my hands, he said before flicking her NPL hard, making her rub her thighs together as she got even more excited. Izuku smirked as she let out getting on the bed and using his legs to keep hers pinned to the mattress, denying her any form of relief. You know, your body is so easy to play with. I hold your hand and you melt and blush. I run my hand from your ribs to your nice, wide hips and you shudder. I choke you, and instead of struggling against me, you get nice and calm, looking into my eyes as you get all wet for me. How many times have you shouted that you belong to me? That your little pink body is mine to do whatever I want with. You are so pathetic, needing me so much. Izuku monologued as he rubbed her exposed pee-pee slowly and watched her squirm. That's right. I need you so bad. I'm your desperate little beach who can't live without 𝗵𝗃 and his yummy pages. You're so strong, you could break me so easily. At this point I'm only functioning because you decided that I make a better pet than a fuck toy. Treat me like AF breeding beach. Mina mentally screamed as he denied her release, and actually screamed into her GG as she shook enough to literally rattle the headboard against the wall. Ah, you want me to make you come so bad, don't you? You look so cute right now. You have your cute little panties stuffed into your mouth, you are tied to my headboard, and all you can think about is how much you want me to let you come. I can see how desperate you are just by looking into your pretty eyes. Want to do some tricks for me, little beach? Earn your dinner? Izuku asked, pulling her wet panties out of her mouth. What's my dinner? Mina asked, still desperate for orgasm. I'm going to fill a bowl with cum, and then you are going to eat it up with your hands and your legs tied, so you have to pathetically crawl over and lap up my cum, but for now, I'm just going to F you into the ground. Izuku said, grabbing her jaw and forcing her to look at him as he illustrated his future actions. Yesh pwesh master, I need to come so bad. She slurred as he gripped her face and she became even more desperate for release. Poor little fuckpet. I guess I'll have to edge you until you lose your mind some other day. Izuku said, untying her and pulling her off the bed to put her on all fours. Good girl, just stay like that. Izuku said as he slammed his pee-pee into her dripping entrance, making her as she came hard. There you go, that's it. Now I'm going to F you and you're going to take it like a good fuckpet. Izuku said before F into her faster while reaching around and choking her with his right hand while his left gripped her pink hair. Thank you, 𝗵𝗃. Mina sighed out as she began approaching her second orgasm, one of many that she would achieve that night. 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 was sitting on her bed, calming herself down after masturbating to the sounds of Izuku being 𝗵𝗃 and pretending he was talking to her. She had decided that she did want to do that sort of thing with him, but was resolved to wait until she knew the guy better before being so 𝗬𝗵𝗲 to him. Besides, the other girls are way prettier than me anyway. I doubt Midoriya would even notice me with my flat chest. She said out loud, looking down at her chest dejectedly. Oh, I doubt that. I mean, he accepted me immediately and I literally drink his BLD to sustain myself. A voice called from her window. Who the hell are you and how did you get in here? 𝗓𝗏 shouted at the blonde girl who was sitting casually on her windowsill. Oh right. I'm Himiko Toga, 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏's first pet. I was sneaking in to see my 𝗵𝗃 and most likely live here with him when I heard you. Don't worry, just ask him when you are ready and he'll probably accept you on the spot. You'll have to be straightforward with him though, for such a smart guy, he's pretty dense. Himiko replied helpfully. Thanks, I guess. Why are you helping me anyway? Doesn't that mean you'd have to share him more? 𝗓𝗏 asked, a little skeptical. I'll let you in on a secret of mine. I get off by watching him F other girls senseless. Himiko said with a wink before disappearing out the window again and continuing to make her way to her 𝗵𝗃𝗏's balcony. Mina was a very happy girl. She was getting her back pet while she crawled around on hands and knees, not to mention lapping come out of a large bowl like the good girl she was. Hey 𝗵𝗃𝗏, did you know that the cute girl with cord thingies on her ears likes you? She said that she was worried that you wouldn't think she was pretty because her bub aren't that big, so you might want to tell her she's hot at some point. Himiko said, cuddling into her 𝗵𝗃𝗏 and preparing to consume his BLD suddenly, Mina lifted her face after the bowl, her favorite treat dripping from her chin as her eyes widened, remembering her promise from earlier. Oh yeah, Tsu and Momo want to be your pets too, and Tsu is a little miffed she didn't get an invite yet. Mina said before going back to her reward. Izuku let out a sigh, leaning his head away to let his pet sink her fangs into his neck, letting the sweet liquid fill her mouth. So now 3 more girls want to be my pets. I don't think I could even keep up without my quirk replenishing my energy and bodily fluids at the rate it does. Izuku muttered, idly petting both of his pets while he considered the girls. He'd be lying if he said that he didn't find all 3 girls attractive, and they each have their own features that made them so appealing. Momo's was the most obvious. She had large melons and a shy disposition, not to mention that she could help him by making collars and toys for him to use with her quirk. Tsu was also very attractive, mostly because of her toned legs, great butt, and cute face, not to mention the possible applications of her quirk. He would have to find out if her esophagus could expand like elastic for reasons. 𝗓𝗪 was cute as well, and while she was right that she didn't have much of a bust, Izuku didn't really care about that too much anyway. She didn't have an amazing butt, like Mina and Tsu did, but her butt was pretty good as well. She did, however, have a goth aesthetic and soft, thick, pillow-like thighs, and thick thighs do, in fact, save lives. Izuku was taken out of his musings when Himiko removed her fangs and gave his neck a lick, indicating that she was satisfied. So, are you going to get some more cuties to F? Himiko asked, laying her head on Izuku's lap, taking his hand and laying it on her head, happy when he took the hint and began petting her. Probably. It's starting to get annoying how many girls find me attractive. How am I supposed to give you girls the attention you deserve if I have more girls to take care of? But I'm sure I can handle it. I'll pay a visit to all 3 of them soon and talk to them about it. Izuku said, enjoying having one pet using his lap as a pillow and watching the others slurp up his cum from a large bowl. Oh, don't worry, we know you won't forget about us, and it is so hot watching you make a girl your little beach. Himiko said, her face pressing into his abs and inhaling deeply in through her nose, gathering his scent. Thanks, pet. If either of you feel like I am not paying enough attention to you, let me know and I'll find time to give you the attention you deserve. Izuku said, rubbing her head and then resting his hand on her throat to lightly choke her. Linebreak Aizawa was sitting in the teacher's lounge, sipping coffee and eating a bagel when he saw a blonde skinny man walk in. Hello, Erasure. How are you? The former number 1 hero asked. He was still teaching there, but he was still retired as a hero. Your problem child isn't helping, you might want to make him exempt from the combat test today, his power outclasses his classmates by a lot. He said, barely sparing All Might a glance. Ah, yes, I have prepared a separate activity for him tomorrow and the day after. He will be training with my mentor to MSTR his power better. May Torino have mercy on his soul. All Might sighed, pouring his own cup of coffee and sitting across from the erasing hero. How has he been behaving? Is he still a good young man in your class? All Might inquired, anxious about his successor. Oh, you mean aside from being the personification of F around and find out? He's a little too impulsive and overprotective, but it'll be fine. He demolished your records on the apprehension test, by the way. Shota said, hoping to get a rise out of the man opposite him. I would expect nothing less from my successor. All Might said proudly. Yeah. Anyway, are you going to the USJ in a couple days with 1A? Aizawa asked, finishing his bagel and coffee and rising from his seat. No, I will be assisting with young Midoriya's mastery of his quirk. You know as well as I do the importance of strong quirks being used properly. Yagi said, knowing he was playing favorites, but that was necessary for the future. Aizawa merely grunted and walked away, leaving the former hero alone with his thoughts. Linebreak 𝗓𝗪 had cleaned up her room in preparation for Izuku's visit. She had, of course, heard what he said about visiting each of the girls who showed interest in him, and she'd rather he did not think she was a slob. In her defense, unpacking all of the things she brought was a messy process. Izuku knocked on her door, which was opened immediately considering that she was expecting him and heard him approaching. Hi 𝗓𝗪. Mind if I come in for a sec? Izuku asked, rubbing the back of his head. In response, 𝐎𝐸𝐽 just stepped aside and closed the door behind him. "Sorry about snitching you out today, by the way," 𝗓𝗪 said, hoping to defuse tension as she felt her heart speed up in his presence. He had dressed in shorts and a tank top, his intricate muscles on display and flexing lightly with his every movement. "I bet that he would make an awesome cuddle buddy. I'd feel so safe in his arms." 𝗓𝗪 mused with a light blush dusting her cheeks. "Oh, don't worry about it, you just told the truth. I assume that you know why I'm here. I doubt there's anything that happens in this building that you don't hear." Izuku began, wanting to get through the awkwardness as fast as he could. "Yeah. To be honest, I'd like to get to know you a little better, rather than entering into a highly dependent relationship the same day I met you. I find you attractive, and I think I would like that type of relationship with you, but I'd rather wait a bit longer," 𝗓𝗪 said, not meeting his eyes in case she got distracted by his attractiveness. "Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I've known Momo, Tsuyu, Mina and Himiko a lot longer than I've known you, so just let me know if and when you are ready," Izuku said, smiling brightly. "Alright, thanks for understanding. Now get out of here before I say F it, because your hotness has worn me down to the point that I can't resist your charms," 𝗓𝗪 said with a shy smile, pushing Izuku towards her door and fully aware that if he didn't comply she couldn't move him an inch. Okay, I'm leaving. By the way, 𝐒𝐽𝐽, you look absolutely gorgeous today," Izuku said before leaving, chuckling at her bright red blush. "Ichi called me 𝗎𝐽𝐽𝐿 and said I'm gorgeous," she thought, resisting the urge to sigh dreamily like a cliché high school girl. Line break. Tsuyu had wanted to be proactive because she was tired of waiting around for Izuku to take the hint. Unlike 𝗎𝐽𝐽𝐿, she had no idea that Izuku was going to the three girls whose attention he had caught, and went to his room to make her intentions clear. Tsuyu barged into his room, only to find Mina on the floor with her hands tied together and her face in a bowl full of a thick white fluid, and a familiar blonde girl rifling through the hamper and putting on one of his large t-shirt shirts, her only other clothes a pair of red and green panties. "Oh, Mina, the cute frog girl is here. Did 𝗵𝗃𝗲 send you here so we can teach you how to be a good girl? I hope it's that," Himiko said, getting close enough that her Izuku-like scent wafted over the frog girl. "No. I'm looking for Izuku. Where is he?" Tsuyu said, blushing at the implications made by the shapeshifter. "He just left. He actually went out to talk to you three girls about being pets. You can just wait for him to get back here," Himiko suggested while sitting on Izuku's bed. "Yeah, sure. What is Mina doing?" Tsuyu asked, looking at the girl with her face buried in a bowl of what appeared to be milk, but much thicker. She was a good girl, so Izuku rewarded her with a bowlful of his yummy cum. "I had some earlier, but I don't want to take too much of her reward from her, but you can probably try some," Himiko said, scooping some out of the bowl on 2 fingers. "Open wide. You're going to have to get used to taking things in your mouth anyway, and 𝗵𝗃𝗲 mentioned that he wants to test out that froggy throat of yours, so you should get used to things in your mouth," Himiko said cheerfully before thrusting her fingers into Tsuyu's mouth, chuckling at the little that escaped her mouth. Tsuyu loved the taste as soon as it hit her abnormal tongue. She immediately knew one of the biggest reasons that the girls were with Izuku was his ability to produce infinite amounts of the substance. "It tastes weirdly good, right?" Himiko asked, pulling her fingers out of the other girl's mouth. "Yeah. His quirk applies to 𝗵𝗃𝗲 production too, right?" Tsuyu asked, making herself comfortable on his bed and breathing in his scent. "Yep. It also gives him awesome stamina, so he'll be your brains out for a long time," Himiko said, also laying on his bed. Line break. Izuku knocked on Momo's door, having given up on Tsuyu when she didn't answer the door, and was surprised when he heard a yelp and rapid shuffling. "I'll be right there," she shouted, her voice quivering as she moved around frantically. Izuku waited a second before getting impatient and simply opening the door. "So I said I'd be there in a second," Momo said, trying to hide something behind her back. "Momo, what is that?" Izuku asked, leaning to look around her and laughing when he saw what she was hiding. It was a large chest, not yet shut, and Izuku could see a body pillow with his likeness on it, a collar, and a cow-themed bikini, complete with stockings and a headband with little horns and false cow ears on it. "Oh, What's this you've got here? Izuku said, striding over to the open box, smirking at the girl who was blushing heavily. Izuku picked up the body pillow, smirking as he set it aside. She wouldn't be needing it anymore, and first picked up the collar. Hey Momo, do you have something to tell me? Because this collar seems to say, Izuku's creation cow, you have a body pillow that looks like me, and this skimpy cow outfit has an brand design on it. Izuku said, holding both the collar and the outfit. I am sorry and ashamed, Izuku. It was wrong of me to think such shameful things about you, especially without your knowledge and consent. Momo said, nearly in tears as she assumed she ruined her chances with Izuku. Momo, don't cry. I was here to see if you wanted to be my pet anyway, you just were ahead of the game. Izuku said, pulling her into his arms and planting a kiss on her temple. Why don't disapprove of my actions? Momo stuttered, her eyes shining brightly as she looked up at the first guy she met, and the first guy she crushed on. Of course not. You've got so many expectations from so many people, don't you? You just need some time and place where you don't have so many responsibilities. Do you want to be my pet, Momo? Do you want me to do all of your thinking for you, at least for a little while, so all you have to worry about is being a good girl for me? Izuku asked her, her face pressed into his chest. Why is 𝗧𝗵𝗲? Please tell me what to do. I want to do whatever you want me to. Momo said with a blush, her eyes looking down in subservience. Aw, you are so cute. Ready for your first order. Be a good girl and change into this costume you made, and get that collar on. Then I want you to show me what you did with that body pillow of yours. Izuku said, kissing her cheek gently. Okay. Why you won't make fun of me, right? She asked, blushing as she took her costume items from him and reached for her body pillow, only for Izuku to grab her wrist and stop it. Of course I won't make fun of you, and you won't be using the body pillow, but I can see why you'd be confused. You are going to pretend I am your body pillow for this little exercise. Izuku said, releasing her wrist. Okay. I'm going to change now, can you please close your eyes? I know you'll see me naked at some point, but I'm still shy. Momo said, her blush covering her face completely. Okay girl, I'll close my eyes, but only because you are such a good girl for me. Izuku said, closing his eyes and laying back on her bed. He could hear rustling as she moved around and changed into her self-made costume, finishing with a click as she put on her collar. Okay, I'm changed. Am I cute for you? Momo asked insecurely, nibbling on her knuckle shyly. She sat on her bed, her legs together and folded to the side like a mermaid, her large melons straining against her cow print top, which could hardly be called a garment as it was, and the rest of her outfit giving her vague features of a cow. You are adorable, cutie. What exactly made you make this? Izuku asked, playing with the straps of her outfit, causing the young heiress to blush. Well, I was researching different pet fetishes, and the article mentioned that girls with large melons might like acting like cows. I can't produce milk, but I thought you would still like it and I wanted to try it. She explained shyly, her eyes not meeting his out of shyness. Oh, you didn't have to do that for me to like you, cutie. Now, tell me what you did with that body pillow that looked so familiar. Izuku teased. I would just cuddle with it. Most times. She admitted, saying the last part almost too quietly for Izuku to hear. Almost. Most times. What about the other times? Izuku asked, pulling her close to him and laying back on her bed, effectively snuggling her. Your arms feel so good around me. I'm sorry, what did you ask? Momo asked, blushing as she snuggled deeper into Izuku's chest. I want you to tell me what else you would do with the body pillow. Don't get too shy on me now. I am literally holding you while you wear a cow outfit. Izuku teased his voice low and in her ear, causing shivers to run down her spine. Sometimes when I thought of you, I would have inappropriate thoughts, and it felt better when I held it and moved up and down, but I kept feeling strange after a bit so I stopped. She said shyly, blushing when he chuckled deeply. Oh, you never even masturbated before. Such a cute little version. Do you want me to fix it for you, girl? Izuku asked, his hand tracing circles on her exposed midriff and causing her abdominal muscles to tense up. Please help your silly little cow feel good. Momo begged, her embarrassment outweighed by her horniness. Good girl. Now, just lay back and let your emissary take care of you. Izuku said, nipping her collarbone and causing her to let out a soft, adorable thank you, 𝗵𝗃𝗲. Momo said, remembering how Tsu ended each sentence with a low croak. In response, Izuku placed his hands on her melons, rubbing them gently and scraping down from the side of her neck to the top of the waistband for her cow-themed panties with his teeth slowly and teasingly. Sir, please don't tease me. Momo whined, squirming as he made her nerves light on fire. I'm sorry, cutie. Do you want me to get right to it? Izuku asked, pinching her nipples and planting a kiss just above her waistband. Yes, please, Moo. Momo said meekly, just wanting release from pressure he was building in her lower torso. Aw, poor girl. You can make more of these, right? Izuku asked, gripping her cow-themed panties. Yes, 𝗬𝗲𝗍. She was cut off by Izuku ripping them in half and burying his hand between her soft thighs while planting a kiss on her lips to silence her moans, her first kiss to be exact. Izuku continued to work his hand while kissing the heiress, enjoying the shudders she let out, before she let out a loud shriek to accompany her first orgasm. Good girl, just let it all out, it's okay, such a good girl for me. Izuku said comfortingly, rubbing her back as she attempted to regain her mental facilities. Thank you, that felt so good. Can you do this for me more often? Momo asked, breathing heavily as she came off of the orgasm that just rattled her entire world. Yeah, of course, just keep being a good girl for me. Izuku said before teasing her by softly stroking her outer lips land causing her to squirm around, her recent orgasm making her overly sensitive. Thank you, 𝗧𝗏. I want to be a good girl for you, but I don't know if I like the cow thing. Can I have a head pat? Momo requested, looking up at him with her dark eyes shining adorably. Ah, that's okay, you can be whatever kind of pet you want, cutie. Izuku said as he gently patted her head. Thank you, 𝗵𝗃𝗲. Can you and the other girls sleep in here tonight? My bed is much bigger than yours, and I'd like it if you're sleeping next to me. Momo asked as she enjoyed his warmth. Yeah, sure, that should be fine. I'll let them know now. Izuku said, going to get up before he was stopped by a tug on his shoulder. Can you just stay with me for a bit longer? Momo asked insecurely. Yeah, I can stay for a bit, but I have to find Tsu at some point, and I will be training outside of the school for a couple of days. Izuku said sheepishly as he held the rich girl. Wait, you're leaving for 2 days? But I want you to stay. I didn't mean to sound that needy, but I am sort of now. She said shyly, subconsciously tightening her grip on him. I'm sorry, but All Might set up a way for me to learn more about strength quirks, and I need to be the strongest I can be. Izuku said, mentally adding, to protect all of you, as he rubbed her head, causing her to let out an involuntary hum that expressed how much she liked the attention. Line break when Izuku went to try Tsu's room again after staying with Momo for the remainder of the afternoon. He didn't wait nearly as long before shrugging and walking on to his own room, walking in and getting an interesting surprise. Tsu, Himiko, and Mina were all snuggling and asleep in his bed, pressed together and still close to the edge. Yeah, he'd need to invest in a bigger bed, or maybe just see if Momo wanted to trade, considering she would sleep in his from now on for the most part. Izuku planted a soft kiss on each girl's forehead, waking them up and causing them to squirm around on his bed, even almost falling off. Hey, 𝗵𝗃𝗲's back. I finished my yummy treat for you. Can I have a kiss as a reward? I rinsed my mouth out. Mina said excitedly as she sat up and sat in the classic begging pose while puckering her lips. Chuckling, Izuku reached his arm around to grasp the back of her head by the semi-short pink hair and gave it a sharp tug, wrenching a strangled and gasp from the girl before pushing his tongue in her now open mouth and beginning his assault. I remember when 𝗵𝗃𝗲 first kissed me, he had no idea what he was doing. Now he can make me come undone with a single flick of the tongue like a pro. Himiko said to Tsu, who was watching enraptured. Izuku broke off the kiss, a string of saliva connecting him to a dazed Mina. What do you say when you get what you asked for? Pet. Izuku growled, his proximity emphasizing the difference in mass between the muscular guy and the dancing enthusiast. 𝗬𝗧𝗏𝗄𝐴, I love being your pet so much. Mina said, sitting back and trying to fix her broken mind. Atta girl. Now, Tsu, I take it you are in my bed for a reason. Izuku said with a raised eyebrow. He already knew why, but his inner SDST demanded he make her say it. Yeah, I've been wanting to be your pet since the day you beat the 𝗧𝗏𝗃 out of Mr. Overcompensation and the Nutsack duo. Tsu said grumpily. Really? I had no idea. Izuku said, smirking at her description. Yeah, I can be your pet froggy, right? Tsu asked, acting a little aggressive despite her normal sweet disposition. Apparently a grumpy froggy, but yeah, just be a good girl for me. Izuku said, rubbing her head. Thanks, can I have a kiss and an orgasm please? Tsu asked, desperate for the real thing after thinking about him for months. Well, you know, pet frogs don't really do much, do they? They tend not to do tricks like puppies, so they are really just for holding and looking at. Be a good girl and down for me, I want to look at you before making you come, and then memorize the look on your face when I take you apart. Izuku ordered, making room for her to get off the bed. Tsu let out a little whine, but then complied, getting off the bed and taking off her clothes to bare her body to Izuku, a little slowly due to shyness. Am I a pretty little froggy, Izu? Do you want to F my streechy little throat? Tsu asked, playing out one of her fantasies. Good job, I think you deserve to come nice and hard. Izuku said before walking to her and picking her up and laying her down on the bed. Time for the show, Mimi. Let's watch MSTR ruin this little froggy. Himiko said, helping the pink girl get out of the way. Izuku planted a kiss on Tsu's jugular before baring his teeth and nipping her neck, tearing a long, croak-like from the girl's mouth, as if he forced it out with his teeth. Why's us, mark me as yours, bite me, make me feel like I'm in danger, please. Tsu begged, her natural prey instincts giving her predicament an RSNG edge. Izuku growled ferally upon processing the new information, his hands half closing to make a claw motion as he raked his slight nails down her body, just short of doing damage. Izuku then slid one hand down to the wet flash between her long, strong legs, simply rubbing before slipping in his two middle fingers. Tsu released another long croak as she clamped down on his fingers, painting a teasing smile on Izuku's face. Finishing so fast. You really do like being in danger. Do you want to be prey? Do you want me to stalk closer and closer to you, make you feel small with nowhere to go before pouncing on you? Izuku teased her, licking her fluids off his hand. Why yes please. I'm your prey. The blunt girl stuttered. I know. Now, come on girls, we are sleeping in Momo's room because my bed is too small. Izuku said, tossing the girls various clothes so they could walk in the hallway without worrying about pervs. On the way, they saw 𝗓𝗏 standing in the hallway with her arms crossed. Can you please be less vocal? Some of us are trying not to fall madly in love with masked Izuku quite yet. 𝗓𝗏 said, blushing at her slip-up. Heh, no promises, good girls use their words until MSTR says otherwise. Himiko said, dragging her cuddle buddies past 𝗓𝗏 and to the young heiress room. Momo woke up in her bed as usual, but with a slight difference to what she was used to. Mina, Tsu, and Himiko were snuggling into her, but her new emser was nowhere to be found, rather there was a note on her bedside table. Shifting out of the pile of girls, and briefly wondering how Izuku did it, Momo picked the note up off the table and unfolded it. Hey girls, I had to get up early for training. I won't be back until late, and I'll be up early tomorrow, but I'll see you all at the USJ. You'll hear about that soon tomorrow. Love Izu, well, Momo thought. I should get up and get ready anyway. Line break. Izuku walked through the empty streets in an old part of the city, only for his phone to alert him of a notification with a bark ringtone when he found the place. Oh, that's from Himiko. Izuku thought as he knocked and then entered the house. I'll have to check it later. Chat. Himiko Toga created a new group called 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏's Good Girls. Himiko Toga added Izuku Midoriya, Mina Ashido, Azui Tsuyu, and Momo Yaoyorozu. Himiko Toga has made Izuku Midoriya and Administrator Himiko Toga changed Izuku Midoriya's name to Izu. Himiko Toga changed their name to Lil Vamp. Hey guys, made a group chat. Mina Ashido changed their name to Bratty Alien Pet, Is the good girl thing mandatory? I like being a naughty girl who gets spanked while she's senseless face-blowing 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐳 changed her name to 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏. Instead still hasn't me or Momo, and that's some bullshit. 𝗧𝗵𝗃 changed Momo Yaoyorose's name to Pet 3D Printer, Pet 3D Printer, Himiko. That is very insulting. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, you can change it when you figure out what kind of pet you are. Smiling face with horns. Pet 3D Printer changed her name to Izuku's good girl, 𝗧𝗵𝗃. Nicknames aside, we should talk about new potential pets for 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏, me and Momo still haven't had CC with him. Why would we want to get new pets for him before we even get same? 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏, some 𝗧𝗵𝗃. Oh please, he's not online Aaron, but I know 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 would assure you that he's gonna F your cute little brains out soon. And I get to watch. Hot face bratty alien pet. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Izuku's good girl. What is it, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏? 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏, I am not. I don't find it humiliating, I just like watching 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 ruin your cute little bodies with his big, yummy pages. My ultimate fantasy is he feeds me BLD and calls me his good girl while he rams one of you girls like his personal fuck pets. Drooling face 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏. That is very graphic. Flushed face 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏. Oh. I forgot that you and Momo haven't even seen his PP yet. It is so cool. Bratty alien pet, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 has a fangirl 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏. Oh, like you aren't the same way bratty alien pet, 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏, exactly. Now back to pets, obviously cute cord girl will be his soon, it's just a matter of time. Izuku's good girl, 𝐒𝐻𝗪. I suppose she has been getting flustered around him. Not that I can claim to be different. 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏, so yeah, her for sure. Who do we know of that has animal-like quirks? That's a good place to start. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏, Miruko. Effer though, I heard there is an American girl in 1B who has an animal quirk, but what it is? 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏, heh, I bet she's a 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Could you imagine 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 that rabbit? Her muscly legs wrapping around his hips. Or her and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 could crush my head between their thighs. That'd be so hot. But what's this about an American girl? 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 speaks English, you know. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏's good girl. Really? I didn't know that. Maybe he can help her if she is an exchange student. Bratty alien pet. So we are literally planning how we would help him stuck a girl. Not objecting, just making sure. 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏. Yup, we should look into it. What are you all doing, BW? I'm still in Momo's bed with 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏's clothes. Bratty alien pet. We are just sitting around waiting for our turn on the combat test. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 was excused because at this point he could solo the entire class. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏, lucky he gets a vacation. Line break. Izuku let his healing factor take care of his new bruises as the retired hero continued to pile more on him. He had spent the last half hour getting the absolute 𝗧𝗏𝗧 kicked out of him by a former hero that scared All Might. Why don't you use one for all to overclock your quirk, boy? The retired mentor of All Might asked as he sent a devastating kick to the boy's quirk. Izuku's brow furrowed in confusion before asking, "It does that? I've always activated it just at the moment of an attack. Did that musclehead Toshinori teach you that?" Figures, he never had a quirk to amplify. When you use one for all, it will boost your quirk in that area. Your quirk is an exceptional match for one for all, because it not only counters the stress that one for all puts on its users as it builds in power, but also because if you channel one for all through an area, it should boost your healing in that area. The veteran hero explained, sitting on the floor and catching his breath. He wasn't as young as he used to be, and the boy had infinite stamina. No wonder his phone is blowing up. I imagine he has caught the interest of several of his female classmates. I guess I never realized it, but one for all is so much more than a simple strength quirk. Thank you for telling me about that. Izuku said with a low bow. Come on boy, we got to toughen you up even more if you want to be a hero. We got to get you at least able to run one for all through your whole body before you leave tomorrow. When we break, silence your DMN phone, kids these days and all their socializing. Gran Torino grumped, jumping to his feet and bouncing off a wall into the boy. Sorry sir. I should have put it on silent before starting. Izuku said, blocking an attack with extreme reflexes, only to have his tutor change direction and slam a kick down on top of his head, which was promptly countered with a punch. The old teacher smiled wryly before talking. Well done, boy. But don't you relax, I'm not done with you yet. Time skip Izuku was getting frustrated. He had only managed to use one for all across his whole body once, and only for a flicker before it faded and he had to rush out to get to the USJ facility. He had trained with Gran Torino and All Might all day the day before, apparently missing a break-in at the school that almost made him leave right then to check on the girls. But All Might assured him that it was taken care of and told him he needed to focus on his training if he wants to be able to keep them safe. With that in mind, Izuku then trained all morning before running out the door. Linebreak Mina sat with Momo and Tsu on the bus to the USJ building, talking to them about different fantasies and making sure 𝐤𝗲𝗓 could hear them. Hey Momo, what if you were like his kitten? Then he'd treat you softly, and he could give you some of his milk, if you know what I mean. Mina suggested while wiggling her eyebrows. She was sitting between the two version pets, with all three of them sitting in anticipation for not only USJ, but for the fact that their emissary would be there, and would be training with them. I thought about it but I still don't know. Maybe I will try being his kitten. I want to be his good girl, but I also want him to tell me what to do and make all of my decisions for me. Momo said with a red face, still not used to indulging in her fantasies, let alone talking about them. 𝗓𝗓 is so sweet and gentle with me, but he is rough and brutish with you, Mina. Does he have anything he won't do for us? Momo asked, wanting to know if there was anything to avoid. Well, aside from the obvious stuff, I don't think so. He literally filled a bowl with cum for me, so he obviously is into that. I think you will be okay as long as you don't do anything gross. I kinda want him to grab my tongue and wrap it around my neck so he can use it as a leash. I bet he could do the same with 𝐤𝗲𝗓𝗏 𝐬𝐻. Tsu confessed, drool pooling in her mouth as she imagined him using her own body to dominate her. Now I wish I had a long tongue. I like it when he gets all DMNT and possessive at the same time, like calling his little pet alien. Mina said with a slight blush dusting her cheeks. The bus then came to a stop and Aizawa stood up and got in the middle of the aisle before saying, "All right, we're here, everybody off." As soon as they stepped into the amazing facility, Uraraka got very excited and sprinted towards a famous rescue hero known as 13 while everyone else gushed over the impressive training capabilities and biomes. No way, this place even has fake villains. Kaminari asked as a purple shadow began to produce several individuals who were all prepared for battle, including a large bird-like monster. Everyone get back to the bus, they aren't fake. 13 and Aizawa yelled at the same time, with Aizawa vaulting over the railing to confront them while 13 attempted to cover the children's escape. Please do not resist. We are here for All Might's successor, and no harm needs to come to any of you. A well-dressed shadow said in a polite voice. What makes you think I even know who that is? Aizawa questioned, assuming a combative stance as he flicked his goggles down over his eyes. Clever man, not giving us any details, but we know they are here. This is Class 1A, the top entering class from the prestigious UA High. Where else would the successor of All Might, who teaches a class at UA might add be? The formal Cloud explained before waving his hand and transporting the entire class, including Aizawa, in front of them, only for another villain to raise his hands and surround them in a translucent dome. Now, which one is the next symbol of peace? I'd rather not resort to killing every one of you. Suddenly, a guy covered in hands stepped out ahead of the polite villain before saying, "Nah, F that, we are going to kill every single one of you brats, but I'm feeling merciful, so the first one to give them up gets to go free." His name is 𝗵𝗃𝗏. Mineta said before getting his mouth clamped down on by 𝗤𝗲𝗓. Shut the F up, grape. / what's your F problem? / you little beach. / what a dishonorable coward. Mina, 𝗤𝗲𝗓, Tsu and Momo all said at once before realizing their slip-up. Now we know the successor is a boy, and he has some kind of connection to these four. Jail carrier. Wall off these four from the rest. We'll kill them one by one until he tries to save them. As soon as a wall separated the girls from the rest of the class, Mineta showed Izuku Midoriya. His name is Izuku Midoriya. Please let me go, there are so many girls I haven't had AC with yet. You little rat. Mina shouted as she slammed her fist on the wall. The wall flickered before glowing a little brighter. Heh, unless you happen to be able to level a building, you won't be able to even put a scratch on that wall. The leader of the villains cackled, his eyes glowing with mad glee. Nomu, kill the loud pink one. Last chance, Midoriya, speak up or I will kill this girl. The Nomu ran forward and grabbed the girl, cocking its fist back to end the girl's life. I'm sorry, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I love 𝗧. Mina began only to be cut off by a flash of green. Smash! Izuku shouted as he grabbed the arm of the Nomu with his left hand, and punched it with the other hard enough to completely sever it, literally punching his arm off. Mina pried the dead fingers off her, squirming out of the Nomu's grip and into the grip of her savior, only to flinch slightly as she looked into his eyes. Mina had not been there when he defended his first pet from his childhood bully, and his back was to her when he defended the girls from the same boy on the first day. But Bakugo had seen his eyes both times, and this time his cold fury was not directed at him. Haha, you are all so dead. Bakugo shouted, and was joined by similar cheers from his classmates. Izuku then began trading blows with the monster, both of them delivering devastating attacks that blew the other's bones to splinters, only for them to be fixed by each one's respective healing factors. Both the aspiring heroes and villains watched with fascination as a creature bred to kill All Might fought his replacement, and was not killing him nearly as fast as it should have been able to. I need an edge, this is just a standstill. Izuku thought before considering what he did for only a moment when taught by his teacher's teacher. He paused, blocking hits as he slowed his breathing and focused on the feeling of channeling one for all, and letting it flow through his body. Every person there watched with bated breath as green lightning flickered over the young hero, all of his muscles pulsing with light as his grit teeth. It was then that Izuku entered a state that he would later refer to as berserker mode. His healing quirk functioned in tandem with his amygdala, the part of his brilliant mind that controlled his fight or flight response, and his truncus encephali, also known as the lizard brain or the brainstem, which controls involuntary reactions and more basic thoughts, such as fear, pain, and protective instincts. One for all increased quirk output, but had never encountered a quirk that directly dealt with the brain, so when the quirk ran through his mind, it caused an extreme spike in the areas of the brain that made his quirk activate in order to 𝗧𝗵𝗲 it. Basically, it made Izuku heal at a speed that makes his base healing look pathetic, but robbed him of his reasoning, such as what is necessary for silly things like holding back and mercy. Izuku seemed to be teleporting around, green lightning flashing violently as he peppered the monster with punches that would undoubtedly strike a charging rhino dead with one of them. Within moments, the monster was nothing more than a bloody spot on the ground, only for Izuku to finish it off with a stomp on its brain that caused spider web-like cracks to spread out on the pavement for 10 feet in every direction. Izuku said nothing, but rather he first ran to the portal creator and threw a devastating punch to his metal collar before anyone could react, spurring the other villains into action as they hit him with everything they had, only for it to have no apparent effect on the boy with fierce glowing eyes. Oh, if his HP recovery is higher than the DPS of these NPCs. I'll have to step in. Shigaraki thought as he watched the young man send his minions flying with a simple swing of his arm. The young man who desperately needed chapstick walked behind the raging boy and set his hand on the back of his neck. Game over, little hero. Nothing in the world could have prepared Shigaraki for the glare shot his way as the overclocked quirk overpowered his own. It made him feel as if all the power he had ever wielded was nothing more than a pebble, and he was staring at a mountain. A very angry mountain. 𝐒𝐬𝐵. Izuku growled, his parody of All Might's signature line making it perfectly clear who this was. The villains had no other warning before the boy seemed to blink out of existence and try to tear the head of the hand enthusiast clean off his shoulders, but was stopped by the appearance of his mentor. All Might stood in his buff form, which he barely used anymore, and held the boy with all of his strength. I suggest you all run away now, I won't be able to hold him long, he said, his strain obvious as he attempted to save both the lives of those who dared to threaten his pets, and the soul of his favorite pupil. The attacking villains left at speeds that suggested they had running quirks to avoid the bound boy, the last on escaping as he broke free. Izuku whirled around in place before his quirk died down, the lack of threats to him and his loved ones gone. The boy collapsed to the ground. The last thing he saw before blacking out was the faces of Momo, Mina, Tsuyu, and 𝗲𝗓 looking down at him with concern. Line break. All for one sat at his monitor. The video turned off as he received a report from his champion. Is the successor dead? He asked, not fond of the state his attack team came back in. No, but I did find out who it is. His name is Izuku Midoriya. What does this mean going forward? Shigaraki asked, looking down in shame. Plus all for one let out a sigh, realizing he had been his own undoing. It means, my boy, we are F. Izuku woke up with a pounding headache. He sat up and looked around his surroundings, which was a luxury vehicle. It was dark in the vehicle, but only due to the tinting, as it was still day outside. Mr., you're awake, Momo said before coming to his side. She was still in her school uniform and seemed to be the only person in the vehicle aside from him and the driver, who was separated by a partition. What happened? Last thing I remember was that monster attacking Mina, and I punched its arm, Izuku said, holding his throbbing head as Momo looked at him in concern. You destroyed them all. You fought the monster for only a moment before beating it into the ground and even fracturing the concrete beneath it, and then you turned your attention to the other ruffians. They all ran from you, then you passed out. Momo explained, helping Izuku up. Okay, why are we in a limousine then? Izuku said while his headache began to subside. Momo blushed a bit before saying, I called to be picked up from USJ and taken home with you so you can be checked out by my family's physician. We are on the way to my home now. You're so thoughtful. I think a good girl like you definitely deserves a reward, Izuku said suggestively before expertly nipping her neck. Momo let out a throaty before covering her mouth and blushing bright red, saying, the driver might hear us, the partition isn't soundproofed and I might get loud. So you don't want me to? Izuku asked, not wanting to be pushy about it. Let's not jump to extremes. Maybe you can find a way to keep your good girl quiet. Momo whimpered, blushing even harder as she tried to find a solution to it. Izuku sat in thought before he put his left pointer index to her lips and tapped them, saying, open up, cutie. Then move his finger inside. There, now you just SCK on my finger like a desperate little pet whenever you want to. Izuku commanded before slipping his right hand up her shirt and began using his calloused palm to rub her NPL softly, causing her to immediately around his finger and began sucking on it. Such a good girl. Maybe you can be my little puppy. Do you want head pats and to do tricks for me? Do you want me to take you on walks around the dorms late at night? How about if you like my little pup for your first time? Izuku asked as he dragged his hand down her midsection to her sopping core, making her tremble and suckle his large finger more intensely. You are so close already, aren't you? Do you want me to finish you off? Izuku asked the girl who was sucking on his finger hard enough that her cheeks were hollowed. Momo nodded, breathing heavily and becoming desperate for release when the car slowed to a stop, signaling their arrival at her home. Izuku shot away from her to the other side of the car as he heard the door open, just barely avoiding suspicion from the driver who poked his head in to get him. Oh good, you're awake? I was not looking forward to carrying you in. You're a lot heavier than you look, kid. The driver said, happy that he wasn't about to throw out his back lifting a dense, muscle-bound, and unconscious body out of a car. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 Midoriya, dense as a big, hard brick. Momo said, flustered with a bright red face. You alright, ma'am? You look overheated. The driver asked with concern, worried he had the heat too high or something. She's just a little rattled over recent events. She said she doesn't want to leave my side, so I'll just help her to her room before heading to the doctor, if you don't mind, Izuku said while helping Momo out of the car. Yes, please help me to my bedroom, Midoriya. Thank you for driving us, that will be all, Momo said in the most regal voice she could manage after being accidentally edged by her enter. Alright, if those were your orders, have a nice day, ma'am, the driver said with a tip of his hat before getting in the limo and driving towards the garage. Momo managed to maintain her false calm as she guided Izuku through her home to her bedroom, giving nods and greetings to the staff on the way, but then immediately let out a long, desperate whimper as soon as the door to her bedroom closed behind them. "Tsuyu, please, I need to come right now. Please. I need it so bad." Momo whined as she practically humped his leg. Izuku wasted no time pushing her to her back, pulling her shorts off her legs and sliding his middle finger and ring finger inside of her wet entrance. "Ah, that's a good girl, just go ahead and come for me. Atta girl," Izuku said as he stroked her, whispering soft reassurances to her as she came all over his hand. "Thank you, sir, I love you." Momo stuttered as she crawled over to Izuku and was immediately lifted into his arms. "Will you please F your good girl? Will you put your little puppy on all fours and F her good?" Izuku knew that he was supposed to go see the doctor that was kept on retainer by the Yaoyorozu family, but when he looked at the bright, hopeful eyes of the girl in his arms, he knew that there was no way in hell that he was not going to give her what she was asking for. "You are way too adorable for your own good, little pup. Get on all fours," Izuku said, unbuckling his belt and admiring the view of his pet bent over for him, fluid running down her legs. Remember, I am still sensitive, so please be gentle," she said, her soft voice a little shaky. "Of course, I wouldn't want to hurt my cute little puppy. Just stay right there and remember not to scream too loud," Izuku said gently as he lined himself up and slowly pushed his length into her tight crevice. Momo began to shift in slight discomfort as she felt him press against him before leaning down to whisper in her ear, "Do you want it fast or slow, pup?" "Fast, yes. Then please stop so I can stretch to fit your big PP before you P&D me," Momo said quietly as she prepared for the pain of losing her virginity. Izuku planted a kiss to the back of her neck before slamming his hips forward and pushing her face into a pillow to muffle her cries of pain. "It's okay, you're such a great girl. Take some deep breaths and relax, I promise you it feels better in a bit, just trust me," Izuku crooned in her ear, reaching around to play with her melons in an attempt to at least partially distract her from the discomfort. After a few moments, Momo began wiggling her hips and looking over her shoulder with a pleading look. I'm ready, please F your good girl. I've been so good and patient for you, please." Izuku said nothing, rather he responded by beginning to move in and out, causing the girl in front of him to quietly and squirm before letting out a bark and a whine. "Atta girl, such a good puppy for me, taking this hard PP in your little pages. Do you want to come, little pup? Are you going to come all over like a good little pet?" Izuku asked, rutting into her as she bit her knuckle to cover her moans. Izuku continued F her for a little while, whispering obscene things to her that made her begin to approach her finish rapidly. "Sir, I'm getting so close. Can I please come for you?" Momo asked submissively, her lip quivering. "Of course, pup, I'm close too, just make sure you don't let your cute little moans get too loud." Izuku grunted as his thrusts began to become faster, harder and more erratic. Izuku grit his teeth as he felt Momo's already tight hole clench on his PP, signaling the second 𝗧𝗵𝗲 of the heiress, before pulling out right before the point of no return. Momo wasted no time turning around on all fours and letting her tongue loll out as she maintained a silly grin and said, "Please use your puppy's little mouth to dump your cum. I heard that it tastes very good from your other pets, so please use this mouth as your personal F-hole until you give me your tasty 𝗵𝗲." Izuku was finally pushed over by a combination of her words and her actions of wrapping her soft lips around the head of his pages. Izuku let out a low groan as he shot cum into her mouth. "Good girl. You deserve all of the head pats, don't you? Such a good puppy for me. I do have to go, but maybe I can take you to see the doctor with me. Do you want to go on a walk, pup?" Izuku asked as he rubbed her head and scratched under her chin. "Why yes, Mr. Izuku. Please give me a moment to compose myself so that when we walk to the doctor, I don't alert anyone to our activities," Momo said, happy she contained his spill by covering his PP with her mouth. "Of course, pup. I'll wait right here for you while you get dressed," Izuku said before planting a kiss on her cheek. Linebreak Momo asked Izuku to carry her on his back, telling him that she would claim to just find him comforting after a traumatic experience. It was the only way for her to go with him, seeing as she was on weak legs after her first time. Izuku began walking through the halls with Momo giving him directions to the physician's room for a couple of minutes until they arrived. "Oh, hello, do I know you, young man?" a middle-aged woman in a lab coat asked after letting them into the makeshift doctor's office. It was a whitewashed room with various devices and medicines. "No, my name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Izuku started, before pausing, unsure of how to explain his situation. "He is my boyfriend. I had him brought here after he saved me and my entire class from an army of villains, but then he passed out and I would like to be sure that he is perfectly healthy," Momo said, only partially lying. "Young love. Anyway, what is your quirk, young man?" the doctor asked as Izuku deposited Momo onto a seat and hopped up on the table. "Hyper-regeneration and extreme physical strength," Izuku said as the doctor used her stethoscope to listen to his extremely strong heartbeat. "Oh, it definitely shows. You are as healthy as a horse, Sonny," the woman commented before listening to his lungs. "Yeah, I've heard something along those lines before. I think my quirk doesn't just heal damage, but keeps me in good shape," Izuku theorized. "You are probably right. Well, I can't find anything wrong with you, so I suppose I have no choice but to give you a clean bill of health, although I do have a question. Why did you come here instead of relying on the school nurse?" the doctor asked, wondering why the young heiress would bring him here. "I wanted him to come back here because Recovery Girl was bound to be busy, and I had not heard of either of my parents or the staff having any illness, so I knew you would be available," Momo explained to the medical professional. My, it is always great to see someone care so much for their significant other," the doctor said, causing a blush to dust Momo's cheeks. "So I am good for the sports festival when it comes up?" Izuku asked the Yaoyorozu family doctor. "Should be. Your quirk is a strong one. Let me know if you have any unusual pains or fatigue. You're good to leave," the doctor answered as she set her things in order on her desk. Izuku nodded and stood up, walked over to Momo, and pulled her onto his back so he could carry her once again. "We should get back to school. Do you want to do anything else before we get back, or are you good?" Izuku asked as he waved goodbye to the doctor. "No, sir. I'll get us a car," Momo whispered in his ear, not wanting to raise questions about why she was calling her boyfriend. "Actually, I wanted to try something. The last thing I remember at USJ was running my second quirk throughout my entire body, but I think if I focus I can keep it from affecting my brain and maintain the power through the rest of my body," Izuku theorized before hearing a small giggle from Momo. "It's nice when you talk like a nerd. It makes me remember that you aren't just a musclehead," she said with a dopey, love-struck smile. "Yeah, I'm going to hold you on my chest to avoid whiplash," Izuku said while carefully letting his inherited power flow through his body, but not his mind. He felt like every nerve was coursing with lightning, as if he injected an energy drink directly into his veins, only to look down and see literal green lightning sparking off of him and his pet harmlessly. Izuku took off at speeds that rivaled even All Might himself, nothing but a flash of green, taking them to the common area of the UA dorms in less than 10 seconds. "Holy SHT, did you just get super speed?" Mina asked from her position on the couch where she was watching TV with her fellow pets. Yeah, I think so," Izuku said shyly at the attention from his class, only to notice that a certain grape-headed perv was missing, and a guy who looked like a young Aizawa was moving his stuff in. Hi, who are you?" Izuku asked the new guy. "Hitoshi Shinso. I just got moved up from Gen Ed for some reason. Something about an expulsion," the guy said as Izuku deposited Momo on the couch and began to help the new guy with his things and chat with his new friend. "Hey Momo, why did 𝗵𝗲 have to carry you to the couch?" Mina asked the heiress, hoping that she couldn't walk for the reason she was hoping for. "I believe the term is after SEC legs," Momo replied coolly, glad to have experienced the thing that most of the other girls in the HRM had spoken highly of. "You have to be kidding me," a certain frog girl screamed. Izuku was helping his new classmate move in and discussing their quirks. "Demon Man, you have an awesome quirk." "My quirk is terrible. Nothing more than a villain's queer dash." Hitoshi was cut off by a light slap to his face, not enough to even sting, but enough to interrupt him. Get that self-quirk-shaming bullshit out of here. There is no such thing as a villain's quirk, only villains with quirks. Izuku said to the Aizawa lookalike. I literally brainwash people. How the hell is taking away free will a good thing? Hitoshi countered before getting another extremely light slap. Do you have any idea how many villains monologue? Every single one. Those dumbasses practically live to explain their plot, name, background, why they are pissy, how daddy didn't play catch with them, the list goes on. You have the ability to completely neutralize 99% of villains, simply because they don't know how to shut the F up. Get some combat skills for the 1% of villains who are competent enough to gloat afterwards, and you'll be a top 10 hero like it's F nothing. You, my friend, can stop conflicts without hurting anyone or letting them get hurt. Your quirk is badass. I better never hear you talk SHT about yourself again, because no one can badmouth my friends in front of me. Izuku ranted, shocking the insomniac in front of him. Okay man, calm down. Hitoshi said, getting a little uneasy about the sheer intensity of this guy's friendship. But now if you'll excuse me, I have a grumpy froggy to F before she gets upset. Good night. Izuku said before spinning on his heel and walking away, leaving Hitoshi alone with his words. Wait, grumpy frog? He asked, hoping he misheard him or something. Line break. Izuku walked into Momo's room and was immediately confronted by Tsu, who was dressed in a pair of green panties and a shirt with a cartoonish frog on it. Mster, you still haven't F me, but Momo gets to cut in line. This is some bullsh dash. The frog girl was cut off by Izuku grabbing her cheeks and mush her lips together. You have 10 seconds to run or hide, then I'm going to come find you and F you. Run, little froggy. Izuku growled before releasing her and turning his back. 10, 9, 8, 7, Tsu's was immediately turned on to a desperate degree. He was effectively taking advantage of her prey instincts to make her have the edge of danger on top of her arousal. Tsu immediately looked around for a hiding spot before deciding to dive under the massive bed just as Izuku finished his countdown. Oh froggy, where are you? Izuku called out in a sing-song voice as he stalked around the room. Tsu was sure that her panties were soaked as she felt her heart beat faster in anticipation. She let her imagination run wild as she thought about what he would do to her when he caught her. Would he bite her throat? Hold her down and tear her clothes off her body with his muscular arms while she lies there helpless? She was brought out of her musings when Izuku casually flipped the bed onto its side and snatched her up by her throat, careful to not apply any real pressure on the frog girl. Found you. Now be a good little froggy and take your F, Izuku said before flipping the bed back down and practically slamming the girl on the soft mattress. The entire time, Izuku was very careful to just give her the bit of fear she wanted, not actually hurt her. I can practically hear your heart beating out of your chest. Now, for the fun part, Izuku said before tearing her clothes off her as if he heard her fantasies. Izuku placed his hand in the center of her chest and pressed down enough to slightly restrict her breathing and leaned his heavy body down to where he could whisper into her ear. Tap or snap or something 3 times if it gets too rough or you need a sec. He whispered in her ear, his voice gentle just long enough to tell her that before he let out a low growl in her ear. Izuku rested his hand on her admittedly soaked pee-pee and nipped at her throat, definitely leaving marks. You are so F-wet already, even though you are nothing but a scared little froggy. Tsu was having the time of her life. She was laying there, helpless, as her emster dominated her, causing her prey instincts to trigger in the presence of someone who could snap her like a twig, and it was F-hot. Izuku wasted no time thrusting into the frog girl, causing her to cry out in a mixture of pain and pleasure, only for Izuku to roughly pick her up and stand with her on his pages. Izuku then moved into her as he lifted and lowered her, essentially using her as if she was a weightless toy that's only purpose was to pleasure him. I'm leaking. Tsu screamed as she came undone by the guy who was holding her, shuddering in his arms. Did I give you permission to come, little froggy slut? Izuku growled as he shoved her against a wall. And no sir, I am sorry, I have been caught by such a strong, terrifying and hot predator, and I got too excited. Tsu stuttered, the interaction causing her to be halfway to a second orgasm already. Then act like good prey, and just take what I do to you. Izuku growled before effed Tsu into the wall, pressing his body against hers to pin her to the wall. Yes, sir. The normally blunt girl said shyly, excited and happy to finally lose her virginity to her 𝗵𝗲 like all of the other pets he currently had. Izuku wordlessly began thrusting again, causing Tsu to let out little croaks, whimpers, and moans as he once again caused her to reach her limit. Sir, can I please come? I need it so bad. Tsu begged as his pacing became more erratic, symbolizing that he was close as well. Go on ahead, pray. Come for me now. He snapped, internally smiling when she came as soon as he told her to. Thank you, sir. Tsu said before passing out in his arms, utterly exhausted after the events of the day, then getting finished with an intense F session with her line break. Izuku had spent the next week with his pets, his healing factor making it unnecessary for him to continuously work out and train. The biggest thing that stood out to him was the actions of 𝗓𝗪. She had been hanging out with his various pets, and would blush and make an excuse to leave the area. Izuku would admit he was pretty dense, but even he knew she was becoming flustered around him, but didn't want to act until he knew what she was wanting to talk to his pets about. This led him to going on the chat while sitting in class. Aizawa decided that today was a nap day. Chat 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗍, does anyone know what is going on with 𝗓𝗪? She is acting weird around me lately. 𝗨𝗵𝗃, she's obviously just shy. She keeps asking us details about you. Favorite color, favorite foods, if you ever talk about her, if you have a pet kitten yet, etc. Honestly, you should just kiss her and watch as her brain overloads and shuts down. Izuku's good girl changed her name to 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏𝗏 little pup, 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏𝗏 little pup. I actually agree. If you hadn't taken the first step, I would have been too shy to talk to you like she is. Regardless of her wanting to know you better, she will be too shy to actually act on her feelings for you. Bratty alien pet, Himiko probably just wants to watch you F her, but they're right. Go for it. 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏, I don't really know how to bring it up. 𝗨𝗵𝗃, simple, just be your hot, DMNT self at eye time when she can't just run away, and wait until her horniness overpowers her shyness. And nonchalantly call her kitten, I think that's what she wants to be. 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏, you girls have put way too much thought into how I should stuck new pets. Bratty alien pet, speaking of new pets, what do you think about Mirko? I heard she'll be at the sports festival. Apparently, All Might personally asked that she be there to watch. 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏, I am dreading why you want to know, but I'm a fan. 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏𝗏, I heard a theory that said she stopped coming because she gets corny watching fights, but no one is strong enough to actually impress her, so she just gets blue-balled. 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏, where did you hear that? 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏𝗏, Reddit. It came out after she explained in an interview that she never had a boyfriend because all the ones who were strong enough to be attractive to her were a good deal older than her. 𝗨𝗵𝗃, so when 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏 fights in the sports festival, she is bound to get turned on. And then I can be a good girl and ask for her autograph for him. 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗏, I feel like you girls have been planning SHT that is going to be difficult for me to understand. Line break, it has to be intentional. 𝗓𝗪 thought, blushing heavily as Izuku leaned over her desk from his next to her in order to retrieve his pencil for the 5th time. Every time he did it she could smell his scent wash over her and hear his strong, steady heartbeat, and every time it made her heart skip a beat. Deciding she was going to have to stop it before she went insane, 𝗓𝗪 used her left jack to pick up his offending writing utensil and set it on her desk. It wasn't like they were writing anything anyway. Izuku smirked and whispered quietly enough that only 𝗓𝗪 could hear him say, "Could you give me that pencil back, kitten?" 𝗓𝗪's face became beet red as she complied, wrapping her jack around the pencil and holding it over to him. "Good little kitten." Izuku whispered and took his pencil before pinching the end of her jack between his finger and his thumb and rubbed it, causing the girl to barely hold in a bashful Please, not here in class. Come to my room afterwards and I'll be your little kitten. Please don't tease me like that anymore. 𝗓𝗪 begged as she bit her bottom lip. Fine, I'll see you after class. Kitten. Izuku smirked as she let out a small groan of frustration. Izuku stopped teasing her for the rest of class, but followed her out of the classroom and scooped her up to carry her to her bedroom all the way in the dorms faster than she could even comprehend. 𝗓𝗪 looked around in shock at her room. She knew Izuku was fast, but that was ridiculous. Teasing aside, is this actually what you want? Izuku asked just to be sure. Do I want the thing I've literally talked about wanting with your pets? Let me think about that for a sec. 𝐒𝐽𝐽 said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Izuku took a step closer to her, practically towering over her. He was actually taller than Momo by this point, standing around 2 inches shy of 6 feet. He wasn't the tallest boy in class, but he was almost a full foot taller than 𝐒𝐽𝐽. My, you are a sarcastic kitty, aren't you? I know what you do when I interact with my other pets. I tell one of them that they are a good girl, and meanwhile you're sitting here, listening to it all and pretending like I'm talking to you. Well, now you don't have to pretend, so go ahead and tell me what you want. Izuku said as he got closer and closer to the rocker girl, backing her up to her own bed. 𝐒𝐽𝐽 blushed shyly and refused to meet his eyes, before saying, do I have to say it? It's embarrassing. How else will I know what you want? Izuku pointed out, enjoying her embarrassment more than he would admit. Fine. I want to be your good little kitten. 𝐒𝐽𝐽 admitted, not meeting his eyes. Aw, you are so cute. Maybe I should get Momo to make you some cute ears and a collar to go with that personality of yours. I bet if I let you sit on my lap, you'd just fall right asleep on my chest and make little purring sounds, wouldn't you? Izuku asked as he stroked her cheek and tilted her face up to him by her chin. Why yeah, that sounds awesome. I kinda wish I could get actual cat ears. The nerves in it would make head scratches from you even better. 𝐒𝐽𝐽 admitted. Ah, does my little kitty want head scratches? Why don't you take a nap while I hold you? Izuku proposed as she pulled her onto his lap, causing her face to become fire truck red. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. I can feel your 𝐒𝐽𝐽𝐽 whimpered as she felt the hard organ pressing against her posterior. I can't help what happens if I have a cute little kitten sitting on my lap. Do you want me to do something with it, or do you want to watch me with another girl so you know what happens first? Izuku asked the girl. Can I watch you with someone else first? I don't want to mess up. 𝐒𝐽𝐽 requested, a little intimidated by the prospect of pleasuring her new one with no idea of what she's doing. Alright, then how about I spend the night here with my pretty kitty? Maybe you'll be less shy, even if it is adorable when you stutter and blush like that. Izuku said, softly petting her head as she laid her head down on his shoulder. Why is please 𝐒𝐽𝐽 said as she inhaled his scent deeply. Izuku then just laid down on her bed, pulling her with him and surprising her with a soft kiss. Good night, pretty kitty. Izuku murmured against her head. Good night, 𝐒𝐽𝐽 said, neither of them realizing that by morning the bed would be much more crowded.